Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media MegaCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information to cover with you. Let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Also, keep in mind that if you have any tech issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all of your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. And if we do not get to your question during the webinar, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us today will be following up with you after we wrap. All right, next up on our tour, there are going to be lots of cool aha moments in the MegaCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast will automatically get added to your post. And our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the Handouts tab for some resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. And if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes we will be giving away throughout the MegaCast today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. You do need to be in attendance here live at the webinar in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all winners after we wrap the MegaCast today. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, hey, if you're not sure what those are, no problem. You can find the full T's and C's in that Handouts tab. Again, just click into the Handouts section, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember here today is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. In today's MegaCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about winning, and we will get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the MegaCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So let's connect on social. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content right away after we wrap, you want to jump right in, make sure that you subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and to grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in that Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected after we wrap today. Now, both you and your coworker, your friend, could win a prize, and we actually hold those drawings every month. So be sure you refer somebody awesome before you head out today. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your Handouts tab and fill out the application. Then the Actual Tech crew will match you with some vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you can choose to join in, like surveys or test running new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you will learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker in your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, how to prevent and recover. The site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. So go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and they are completely free, super easy. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get rolling.
All right. Well, hi, hello, welcome. I hope you are ready for this because today we are talking about protecting SaaS applications, security and data protection considerations. Now, this cool topic is where we're going to spend a lot of our time today digging in, exploring, because more and more of your organizations are relying on software as a service applications for critical functions. And as that trend increases, so does the need for security and data protection, right? And there's a lot to think about here because just as the threats are constantly evolving, so are the solutions. So it's always growing, always expanding, always kind of moving around a little bit. And it is so important that we keep having these conversations to explore and learn together. And to help us navigate this important conversation, we have top experts here with us today from Rubrik, Haiku, Zerto, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Veeam, and Commvault. What an all-star cast. These industry leaders are going to walk us through some of the hottest trends, the best practices, everything you need to consider as you plan your SaaS application, and especially when we're talking about security and data protection strategies. This is very important, lots to cover, lots of incredible sessions ahead of us, so much to learn, and we are going to settle in right now. Take a little stretch if you haven't, shake it out a little bit, stretch out at your desk, get ready because we've got a nice long day ahead of us and we are ready to rock. Let's zip through a few of the housekeeping points and get this show on the road. Again, my name is Jess Steinbach. I'm a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. My fellow moderators, Scott Becker, Keith Ward, and Mackenzie Pudici will be joining us. In fact, Keith Ward is going to be joining us for a keynote chat in just a few moments here. But before we get into that exciting little piece of content, we have even more excitement for you, and that is, oh, you guessed it, some prizes. We've got today on the MegaCast the opportunity to win one of 3 Kindle Scribes. How about that? Plus, we also have a $300 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away every 30 minutes to lucky winners who are here live and present with us at the MegaCast. So that is one of 3 Kindle Scribes and a $300 Amazon gift card every 30 minutes. Holy. Now, as I mentioned in the housekeeping chat earlier, you can find the full terms and conditions in the handouts tab. So if you have any questions about whether or not you meet those prize terms and conditions, head on over to the handouts tab, click in, scroll down, and you will find those waiting for you there. All right, well, that is a whole lot of excitement to start things out, and I think we are primed and ready to jump into the content of our day here. There's so much to dig into, so much to explore, and as you can see, we get to start things out today with one of my favorite experts, and that is, of course, my friend and fellow moderator here at Actual Tech, that is Keith Ward. All right, Keith, I know you have some great stuff lined up to kick off this MegaCast today, so I'm going to hand things right on over to you. Take it away.
Hi. Thank you so much for that introduction. I am delighted to be with you today. My name is Keith Ward. I'm a moderator here with Actual Tech Media, and I am thrilled to kick off this outstanding event by providing 5 quick ways to protect SaaS applications. Now, this is easier said than done, of course, as SaaS apps are really vulnerable if you're not on top of your security game. So here's 5 ways, 5 things for you to kind of keep an eye on. Let's get started. What do you say, huh? First up, implement multi-factor authentication, or MFA. So this involves strengthening user authentication by requiring multiple forms of verification, such as passwords, biometrics, or security tokens. MFA adds an extra layer of security, reducing the risk of unauthorized access, even if passwords are compromised. And as we all know, passwords are compromised a lot. MFA ensures that only legitimate users can access the SaaS application, which enhances your overall security posture and safeguards your sensitive data from unauthorized access. So there's multiple ways to do MFA, lots and lots of options, more coming up every day. Check out a lot of what's out there. You'll see many solutions. All right. Number two, encrypt data in transit and at rest. It's not one or the other, it is both. So, utilize encryption protocols to protect data during transmission over networks and when stored on servers or in databases. Encrypting data in transit prevents interception by unauthorized parties, aka the black hats or the bad guys, while encrypting data at rest secures it from unauthorized access even if the storage media is compromised. This helps maintain confidentiality and integrity, mitigating the risk of data breaches and ensuring compliance with data regulations. Again, you have to do both, can't just rely on one or the other to keep you safe here. All right, number three, regularly update and patch software. Probably some of you are smiling in the same way that I am when this is brought up. Something we all know we're supposed to do. And yet, how many times do we see stories on breaches that are caused by exactly this? So, stay proactive in applying software updates and patches to address known vulnerabilities and security flaws. These regular updates help to mitigate the risk of exploitation by attackers trying to get unauthorized access or to compromise your data. By promptly addressing these security vulnerabilities, organizations can minimize the likelihood of successful cyber attacks and maintain the integrity and availability of their SaaS applications. How many times have you seen in the news a breach from a patch for a Windows server that was released 10 years ago, a dozen years ago, 5 years ago? You know what I'm talking about. We think that these servers are all patched. There's always going to be a few that you find with good discoverability software that are not patched. You may, in fact, be surprised how many you find that aren't. All right. Number four, implement robust, emphasis on robust access controls. So, establish granular access controls to regulate user permissions based on roles and responsibilities within the organization, right? You know the acronym RBAC, role based access control, ACLs, access control lists, some acronyms that are very important here. By granting access only to the necessary resources and functionalities, organizations can reduce the attack surface and minimize the impact of insider threats, right? People in your organization who want to cause damage, or external attackers who manage to gain unauthorized access. Robust access controls, beefy, right? Things that work well and are efficient and powerful. They enhance security posture and protect sensitive data from unauthorized disclosure or modification. In other words, read the hand, people. Number five, monitor and audit user activity. So this involves implementing and logging auditing mechanisms to track user activity within the SaaS application. Monitoring user actions can help detect and respond to suspicious behavior or security incidents in real time, enhancing threat detection capabilities and facilitating incident response. Regularly reviewing audit logs enables organizations to identify security issues, investigate potential breaches, and enforce compliance with security policies and regulations. Compliance is becoming a huge issue, a frontline issue for many organizations. So this is a critical thing. Also, with the addition of AI, these monitoring and auditing programs, solutions are getting better at seeing threats before they happen, so they can alert you in advance of the worst, just from suspicious activity that's going on in your network. Because a lot of the bad guys these days, they want to get in your network, they want to look around and not let you know they're there yet, and find the best places to attack. And this is one way to spot them. So there you go. My 5 quick tips for staying safe in the SaaS world and protecting your applications and data. Obviously, it takes planning and a lot of effort to keep your apps and data safe, but consider the potential alternative. Seeing your company in the news a lot. First, for the breaches that allowed the bad guys in the first place, and then possibly the sad announcement that your company is going bankrupt. Now, I am not trying to scare you here, folks. Rather, I just want to make you aware of how serious it can be to ignore or at least not properly prioritize your SaaS apps and data. All right. We have all seen the stories, educational institutions, companies that have seen everything lost and have gone down the drain because they weren't taking the right precautions. The bad guys got in, and the result was horrendous for everyone. So do your due diligence. Look at the vendors that are going to be presenting today. Look at the solutions that are out there. Do comparison. Take your time and realize that this is an ongoing process. Once you are secure, you have to stay secure. You have to watch for changes. You have to stay proactive throughout the lifetime of all your SaaS apps and your data. And the diligence never ends. This is a 24/7 gig. And it's up to you to make sure that everything stays safe and sound. So with that, I am going to throw it back to the moderator and want you all to have a great rest of the event. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Have a great day.
Well, thanks so much, Keith. And I agree. It can sound like we're doing a little bit of fear mongering, but I think what you established very well here is that there is a reason to be concerned. There is a reason to be aware. But for those of you that have been on a chat with me before, you've heard me talk about working as an outdoor adventure guide in my youth and talking about the difference between bear aware and paranoid. And bear aware is good bear safety, and paranoid is you're too scared to go out of the door because there's bears out there. And one of those things is really helpful and still allows you to continue carefully and cautiously on your way through the woods, and one keeps you tucked inside. So what we're going for today is not paranoia. We're not going for, hey, we're all so scared that we hold on too tight and we overgrip and we buy way too many solutions, or we do nothing and we don't use SaaS. Any of those are not solutions we want. What we're looking for is awareness. We're looking for being aware of the potential risks and the possibilities, and then also being excited about the opportunities afforded by some of the solutions here today for you to relax a little bit and continue on hiking about your day. We're providing you with technical bear spray today. And then you're going to keep on exploring the woods, but you're going to feel a little better while you do it. All right, so I want you all to click on this poll here. What we're looking for is what is the additional time frames that you have in mind when you're thinking about all the information you're going to be hearing today and all of the possibilities that are coming your way when you're arming up with your technical bear spray. I'm really going with this metaphor now. And you're gearing up for your hike. Are you thinking that you need to make these changes very quickly? Is this a rapid need? Everything Keith said was scary and resonating, and you're feeling like, we need to make changes now? Or are you thinking a little bit longer term? Are you thinking maybe 6 months out, a year out? What is the time frame that you have in mind? All right, so what I'm seeing from all of you, just to give you an idea, is that most of you are really hitting in that not sure category. Most of you are in the not quite sure what my time frame is, and that is a great place to start, because that means to me that you're also kind of in the research phase. You're figuring out what the issues are, you're figuring out what your biggest needs are, what the biggest risks are, and then you're going to take some action. So the good news is we have some people here with us today who are going to help you take that action. So I hope you are all excited. I think with that, it's about time that we get started on this MegaCast today, because we have a lot to cover. And as you can see, we are definitely starting out on a great note today with the Rubrik crew. And hey, a familiar voice here on the MegaCast, and that is, of course, Veer Choksi, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Rubrik. Veer, it is always so great to have you here at a MegaCast. I know you've got some great content lined up, so I'm going to hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Veer Choksi. I'm with Rubrik, and I've been here for about 2 years. Now, my goal here is to explain how you can use your own data to improve your cyber defense, and also to introduce data threat analytics, which is a set of capabilities that can help you detect threats better so that you can recover from cyber incidents quickly and confidently. And this presentation is geared towards both the IT and the security audience. Now, we all know that the cyber threat landscape has become challenging over the past few years. There's many reasons for this. The attack surface has grown a lot. Users are more distributed, and we have much more complex hybrid environments than in the past. It's also easy to become a cyber criminal, especially with ransomware as a service providers. So the barrier for entry for becoming a cyber criminal is a lot lower than it used to be. And also cybercrime remains financially rewarding. Now, before getting into my main content, I want to set the stage with some research from Rubrik Zero Labs, which is our threat research unit. We commission market research, we use third-party information, and also telemetry from Rubrik customers. 99% of IT and security leaders were made aware of at least one attack in 2022. Now, it isn't always ransomware necessarily. It could be data deletion, whether by a malicious actor or an insider or even accidental. And it could be politically motivated rather than financially motivated. But the bottom line is that cyber incidents are denial of data attacks. And when your data is down, your business is down. And on average, leaders dealt with attacks 52 times in 2022. So that's roughly once per week. Now, 93% of organizations reported malicious actors attempting to impact their data backups. Backups are often your last line of defense, and if your backups are not available and clean, the victim is much more likely to decide to pay a ransom to the cyber criminals. Now, about 73% of those efforts were at least partially successful. And so backups are something that both IT and security teams have an interest in. Now, out of over 27 million analyzed snapshots, about 21,000 of those contained anomalous activity. That's about 0.07% of the total. About 1,200 encountered an encryption event, and that's 0.004% of total. Now, notably, 100% of encryption events were previously identified as anomalous, and 100% of encryption events were tied to a lack of multi-factor authentication. Now, the number of impacted files could range from thousands to the millions. And nearly 3/4 of observed encryption events affected virtualization infrastructure. Now, traditionally, cybersecurity has focused on infrastructure security around prevention and detection in your production systems. But despite significant investments in infrastructure security and prevention tools, the risk of breaches can only be reduced. They can't be completely eliminated. Attackers are still penetrating these defenses. And so just as important as reducing the likelihood of a successful attack is reducing the impact of an attack. How quickly can business as usual be restored if an attack were to happen? And how can you, as a potential victim, make informed decisions to enable a successful recovery? Now, in spite of the security tools that are in place, there are still blind spots that can make recovery painful and drawn out. So malware might be lurking in your infrastructure. Endpoint detection and response tools can detect threats on devices, but they typically won't alert you to threats that are present on servers because they usually aren't deployed there. Second, it's difficult to accurately assess the blast radius of an attack, which could leave you in the dark on what exactly you need to recover. And third, it's not easy to determine when a threat entered your environment, and this could lead to reinfection and prolonged recovery. So all of these blind spots can increase overall cyber risk and increase downtime. So what if you could leverage your existing backup data to investigate threats and recover with greater speed and confidence? Everybody has backups already, right? So the main thrust of this presentation is that your own backup data can be a rich source of intelligence to improve your overall cyber resilience. Now, I'm sure that most folks have seen the federal government's cybersecurity framework: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And they're actually thinking of adding another phase, govern, but for now, these are the 5 phases. So let's focus in on the detect piece. Teams are asking questions like, can we determine the cause and blast radius? Can we minimize data loss? Can we determine the first point of infection? How can we easily conduct indicator of compromise or IOC sweeps without impacting production workloads? And how confident are we that an attacker is not present in our environment? Those sorts of questions can be addressed with data threat analytics. Now, data threat analytics refers to the ability to continuously monitor your data for risks and detect cyber threats. So the basic theory here is that if you're taking regular backup snapshots, you're in a good position to recruit your own data in the fight against ransomware and other cyber incidents. And that's because you're capturing the longitudinal time series history of data if you're protecting your data with Rubrik. Now, additionally, Rubrik manages metadata, including the content, users, and access privileges, which can help to shed light on your data security posture. Now, data security posture is a topic for another day. But by scanning hundreds of snapshots, Rubrik's data threat analytics engine generates signals that are fed into a highly trained machine learning model, building a historical baseline against which new data can be compared to find anomalous modifications, deletions, and encryptions. Again, we're capturing time series data from enterprise, cloud, and SaaS, feeding that data into the data threat engine, and that can result in really valuable security intelligence, shining a light on those blind spots so that you can make informed recovery decisions, and even automated remediation recommendations. So what can you do with data threat analytics? You can detect threats early by automatically identifying indicators of compromise within backups using an up-to-date feed of threat intelligence. You can determine the scope of ransomware attacks using machine learning to detect deletions, modifications, and encryptions. And you can prevent malware reinfection by analyzing the time series history of snapshots for IOCs to identify the initial point, scale, and time of infection. And because the scanning is done on backups, there's no impact to your production systems. Now let's take a look at each of these 3 services, starting with threat monitoring. So how this one works is that threat intelligence is fed into the Rubrik threat feed. The hashes and Yara rules themselves can come from different contributors. One of the contributors is Rubrik's own InfoSec team, so you can leverage the same intel that we're protecting Rubrik the business with. Intelligence can also come from Zero Labs, which is Rubrik's own threat research team, or it may come from third parties. Either way, we vet the threat intelligence prior to including it in the feed to ensure the quality of the intelligence is high and the threats are relevant to critical infrastructure environments. This intelligence gets downloaded at set time intervals. And when there's new intelligence available, a hunt will kick off automatically and search for threats based off the hashes and Yara rules. Now, should a match occur, you'll be notified right away via email. You can then drill down via the dashboard to see where the threat was located, what hash or Yara rule was matched, and find attributes associated with the hash or Yara for more background information to assist in potentially kicking off other threat hunts via Rubrik's threat hunting service or via third-party tools like a SIEM or an EDR. You can also quarantine the threat from within threat monitoring as well. So essentially, threat monitoring is a turnkey solution to help detect and protect your organization from threats. The intelligence gets downloaded automatically. Hunts based off of this intelligence will be automatic. And if any threats are found, you get notified about the threat, and any attributes associated with that threat will also be shared whenever possible. So it really is that simple. This is literally set it and forget it. The next service under the data threat analytics umbrella is anomaly detection. Now, anomaly detection provides a comprehensive approach to ransomware remediation. We use multi-stage machine learning to detect anomalies in your backup data. Those stages include observing file creations, deletions, and modifications, and comparing it to historical changes within that specific workload. In addition, entropy is analyzed to determine if ransomware-like encryption has occurred. And finally, if possible, we will identify the specific strain of ransomware as well. So if an attack has occurred, Rubrik automates the assessment of the blast radius to quickly understand what applications and files were impacted and when. And that eliminates the intensive manual labor that's usually required, such as bringing up a VM copy and manually comparing and scrubbing for changes. Finally, your backup file system has immutability. Since your data is never available in read-write mode, it can't be changed or overwritten. Fast and flexible recovery options can be used to revert back to the most recent clean version, whether using instant recovery, live mount, file level recovery, or orchestrated recovery. And that brings us to threat hunting. Threat hunting is a really powerful tool that lets you perform custom scans of your backups on demand for specific IOCs. You can identify the point of malware entry so that you can know what point in time to recover to avoid reinfection and minimize data loss. Threat hunting is both broad and deep. It allows you to scan multiple workloads and across time. It's also flexible. It can consume and search for threats via Yara rules, file hashes, and file patterns. These types of threat intelligence are industry standards. Thus, this allows you to leverage threat intelligence from various sources, such as internal sources, like your own InfoSec team, third-party intelligence services that could be paid or open source, from industry groups such as ISACs, and even government agencies that publish threat bulletins. And much like anomaly detection, threat hunts are done on backups, and thus there's no impact on your live production systems. Threat actors are unaware of ongoing hunts. And lastly, since Rubrik backups are immutable, you can identify IOCs that attackers have erased from production systems to cover their tracks. So in sum, threat hunting can shortcut the hunt for the point in time and the place where an adversary may have gained access to your infrastructure and help to define the clean recovery point so that you're not recovering with the malware still in place. So let's look at a typical ransomware attack and how data threat analytics fits in. Bad actors will establish initial access, followed by a lateral move, persistence, privilege escalation, recon, collecting, and staging. And finally, there is exfiltration and encryption. So anomaly detection pinpoints the impact on the target. So you can identify the blast radius so you know exactly what to recover and recover quickly. And threat monitoring and threat hunting identify when the attackers established access so that you can ensure a safe restore point. Now, threat monitoring is a passive activity, while threat hunting is more active if there are specific IOCs that you want to hunt for. Now, these are all very powerful when used in conjunction and help you to make sure that your recovery is as fast and safe as possible. So again, to recap, data threat analytics combines three really powerful threat detection engines. With threat monitoring, you can continuously scan for known threats to detect compromise before the damage is done. With anomaly detection, you can detect file system anomalies to identify data destruction and the blast radius of an attack. And with threat hunting, incident responders can hunt for indicators of compromise throughout the time series of data. So today we focused on data threat analytics, and this is part of a larger data security platform that we offer that includes data protection, data security posture, and cyber recovery as well. With all of these components, you can keep your data safe and make it easy to recover from cyber incidents. I did also want to mention that being cyber resilient is about more than just having the right technology in place. Rubrik also offers a ransomware recovery warranty that guarantees that your data will be available for recovery in case of an incident. We will pay out up to $10 million in recovery-related expenses if that is not the case. And so far, we've never had to pay out. Included with Rubrik support at no extra cost is our ransomware response team, which is a team of experts that's there to guide you during the high-stress moments after a cyber incident. And they've performed many successful recoveries. And like I've mentioned, Rubrik Zero Labs is our research group that delivers vendor-agnostic insights on reducing data security risks. And I encourage everyone to check out the latest report from Rubrik Zero Labs. So the question we should all ask ourselves is, can we afford to wait during downtime? And how much is that going to cost in both financial and non-financial terms, such as the reputational damage that a cyber incident can cause? And so a quick example, Lang's Building Supplies is a Rubrik customer that was able to fend off a ransomware attack with hardly any interruption to business as usual. They ended up with, without having to pay any ransom, had zero data loss because they had Rubrik's data security solution in place. Now that's cyber resilience. So thank you all for tuning into this webinar. I hope you found it helpful. And in closing, really briefly, the most important asset for an organization is your data. And you can have really great cybersecurity controls at the application, network, endpoint, etc. levels. But if an attacker does manage to get in and deny you access to your data, are you going to be able to recover within an acceptable time frame? Do you know exactly what was impacted? Can you be confident that your environment is free from known threats? Do you know what exact point in time you need to recover to minimize data loss and avoid reinfection? In today's day and age, you need to have good answers to all of those questions. And that's where data threat analytics applied to your existing backup data can really help. So thank you all again for your interest. And if you'd like to learn more, please get in touch.
Well, thank you so much, Veer, for that wonderful presentation, for kicking off our MegaCast on such a great note. Lots of awesome insights and takeaways from this conversation already, and we're just getting started. Now, for those of you that are interested in learning a little bit more, as Veer just said, you can reach out to Rubrik, and another easy way to get in touch is to just click on the little wish list, on the shopping list that you have on your screen here. Let us know what additional information you would like to get about the Rubrik solution, and then Rubrik will follow up and make sure that you get the information that you need. Jeffrey, I see you saying definitely want some more info. I love that. Yes, click on those options there if you're interested. And if you don't see the option that you're looking for, you can post in the questions window just like you did and let Rubrik know, hey, I want to hear more. I want to talk to you. Let's connect. So definitely make sure that you are reaching out and following up on this conversation. Now, another great way to get some more information right away is to go over to the handouts tab. If you haven't already done that, make sure you click on the Rubrik link and get the handout from Rubrik, Exploring the Rubrik Security Cloud. Again, this is really digging into what we just heard from Veer, how you can secure your data wherever it lives across enterprise cloud and SaaS. So the perfect follow-up to the conversation we just had. This is going to have a lot of good insight and information, especially if you're looking to share some of this information with other members of your team after we wrap. So make sure you've got that handout. Make sure you've clicked on the poll on the wish list up on your screen there. And while you were doing that, that's your homework assignment. I'll do my homework assignment, which is to give away our very first prize. We have a $300 Amazon gift card going to a lucky winner who is here live and present at the MegaCast today. And that lucky winner with us first gift card goes to Tom Cross from Oklahoma. Tom Cross from Oklahoma. Congratulations to you, Tom. Now, as always, we will follow up after we wrap. And for all of you out there who are not Tom Cross, stay tuned because there are lots more chances to win, lots more prize giveaways. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, I want to remind you, if you've forgotten, that we have the best question gift card coming at you from each one of our sessions. So even if we don't get to your question in a live Q&A, you are still entered to win that best question gift card just by asking a question. And as I always say, you first and foremost end up getting a gold star and a high five from me. And secondly, you are entered to win that best question gift card. So keep those questions rolling. All right, my friends. Well, speaking of rolling, I think it's time we move things right along because we have another awesome presentation in the wings. And as you can see, this is another returning veteran of the MegaCast, another awesome presenter that you will all recognize and be excited for because we now get to chat with the Haiku team. Dun, 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 dun. So up next on the MegaCast, we will be connecting with Andy Fernandez, Director of Product Management at Haiku. Andy, thank you so much for being back here with us on the MegaCast. Always a pleasure to chat with you. I'm going to join you for some Q&A at the end, but I'll hand things on over to you.
Thank you so much, Jess. It's the best introduction I could ever get, so I really appreciate that. With that being said, folks, I wanted to thank you for your time and attention today. We've only got 20 minutes, and I really want to focus on the topic at hand today. So the focus of today's session really is on cyber resilience. And what I would love for you to leave here is not understanding how is Haiku or any other competitor a better approach for SaaS backup. I simply want you to leave this session with a plan of action, understanding SaaS cyber resilience. The reason I bring up resilience here is by the end of this year, there will be $200 billion spent on cybersecurity, specifically prevention technologies. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that we continue to spend more on cybersecurity, yet we see attacks happen all of the time. And because of that very fundamental reason is why you have to think about backup and recovery as your last line of defense. But the most important thing to address here, in today's topic being about SaaS itself, is let's actually talk about adding a recovery of a last line of defense to your SaaS applications. We're going to get into that. But before we do that, I actually want to poll the audience. And I would love to get an insight from everybody here from your perspective, your experience in your organization. And the question is, how many as a service applications do you actually have? And I'm going to pause here because I want you to think critically about this. Don't just think about Microsoft 365 or Salesforce. Think about IT. Think about engineering. Think about your business departments like finance, HR, and all of these other places. And also think about your cloud services. Now, I would love for you to take a couple more minutes and let me check the audience to see in the chat if anybody has mentioned what they're using. Let's see if I get any questions from anybody around here. Let's get a few guests. But what I promise you is that whatever sum you're thinking about is going to be much, much higher in reality. So now keep that number in mind because what I'm going to show you is the average amount of SaaS applications inside of a mid-sized organization. It's 217. Over 200 SaaS applications that are used in mid-sized companies. When I say mid-sized companies, I'm not talking about an organization of 5, 10,000 employees. I'm talking about 1,000, 2,000 employee organizations already using 217 SaaS applications. Obviously, this is a mean average, so there might be lower, and some organizations might be a lot higher. But how did we get here? How did we get to this point where you have 217 SaaS applications? Well, let's take a step back in time. Let's go 10, 15, really 15 years ago to understand the relationship of compute, business applications, and how they were managed. So if you go back 15 years ago, you owned a castle. You were the king or queen of this castle, and you had the ability to understand exactly what applications that you had. Why? Well, you had a data center, and you had virtual applications and physical applications running in this data center. You had a finite amount of applications and one single place to take a look. Maybe you had a colo facility, some DR continuity facilities as well, but primarily you had a data center that you had to look after. You had firewall infrastructure, you had networking, you had everything you needed and everything is in one place and you had a moat. And life was easy from a management perspective. Why? Because all of your applications were backed up because you were backing up VMware as you were supposed to do as an IT administrator. But where are we today? Well, today there's an A24 movie that I think is incredible. It's called Everywhere All at Once. And that's an exact definition of what we see SaaS applications. Think about your organization today. Regardless of what applications that you're using, they are running in somebody else's hardware. They are being processed by somebody else. And you no longer have a specific application in one place or in your data center, they're all over the place. And it can become very, very difficult to have a true accounting of where is my data? What is the residency? Is it being protected or not? And let's actually double down a little bit more into this phenomenon, because this is, in my opinion, a ticking time bomb and a critical thing that every organization needs to address. And it's SaaS sprawl. And here's how it's happened. As I mentioned, you had your on-prem infrastructure. Life was nice, clean, tidy. You were backing up. You had your DR and you had your backup infrastructure. In fact, you were probably using a lot of the vendors that we see on today's webinar as well. But what happened? Well, the first phenomenon that happened was every application that used to be a server or data center deployment, whether it's Microsoft 365 or Salesforce or even Jira that is now Atlassian Cloud, all of these applications are now SaaS. They're no longer stored in your data center. They are no longer in your control. You no longer have backups for them, but you still have responsibility for that. And during this webinar, my other colleagues are going to talk to you about the critical responsibility of backing up SaaS applications. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that for them. I really want to focus on a couple of other pain points as well. But the first one is you have to take accounting of how many business applications you're using, not just in IT, not just under your productivity or collaboration umbrella, but across the entire organization. But it doesn't stop there, though, does it? Even your security, even your identity access management, your key management, your critical networking and cloud services, if you're using public cloud, are also SaaS applications. This means that all of these configurations in this data are once again somewhere else, not inside of your data center. And the last thing that I'll mention, of course, is the traditional compute, database, and containerized applications that you now have running within AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. But something that I want to mention about these cloud services as well is there are over 300 cloud services in AWS. Each one of them brings you tremendous scale and value, but guess what? They're all decoupled. They all hold critical data, critical configurations that, if deleted or attacked, could mean that your organization is in trouble from a cyber resilience perspective. Now, I'm not here to provide some type of doomsday expectation here. Obviously, there are solutions to this. But the point is, you have to take SaaS sprawl extremely seriously. And at Haiku, there are two core things that we focus on. The first one is you cannot protect what you don't know. If you don't know what applications are being used, if they're being protected and who's not, you have to go out and do so. Because if you don't know what's out there, you cannot protect it. So you have to understand your threat surface. Not only the business SaaS applications, but also your critical cloud services. And I don't mean just your EC2 instance and your S3 storage, but I mean your VPCs, your IAM, even Terraform. All of these things count as ICTs or cloud services. They must be protected. So the plan of action here is you must first understand the problem that you're dealing with, expose all these applications. You have to map out responsibility, departmental ownership, and most importantly, you have to identify the ones that are unprotected. Because if there is a specific deletion, misconfiguration, or even direct attack on you, even if it's a SaaS, it's your responsibility to recover. So you have to make sure that once you have this assessment, that you triage and identify the right applications that need to be protected. And then the next one is once you identify, okay, these are, the 5 to 6 most critical applications I need to protect, you have to make sure at minimum that you automate the backup process. This has to be done daily. You have to make sure that you test it. If you don't test your backups, if you don't test recovery, you do not have a backup strategy. And I don't mean just being able to restore or recover an entire instance, but I mean granular data as well. And this is critical. One of the most important things that you could do, if you walk away with one item from this session, is that you have to do everything in your power to store copies outside of the SaaS application that you're using. When I say this is whether it's M365, Salesforce, Atlassian, you want to have a copy of that outside of the SaaS itself in case of DR, in case of ransomware, but also from a data retention and compliance perspective. And ultimately, you also want to build a process. Who owns what? Who's protecting what? Who can recover what? Especially if you're an organization that has, even at minimum, dozens of applications. Now, one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about is this is the problem that we at Haiku explicitly observed. We come from protecting critical applications on-prem and cloud. But we realized that our own customers were rapidly moving to SaaS applications. They were rapidly modernizing, and we needed to make sure that we built a platform that kept up. And maybe in another time, or if you want to reach out to me, we'll have a conversation about what that platform really is. And it's called Haiku R Cloud. But what I can say confidently is that it's the first and only data protection platform that's built to scale to protect the world's thousands of applications. And if there's a couple highlights here, it's not just about saying, hey, we protect Microsoft 365 and Salesforce. We're a SaaS data protection leader. That's unacceptable. We know how many organizations are using dozens, if not hundreds, of SaaS applications, which is why we have more than 65 sources that are protected in our marketplace. And most importantly, we have an NPS of over 90 because we are obsessed with our customers and making sure that they are successful. But there's only two things, very basic things, but very important things that I'm going to talk to you about what Haiku is able to do. The first one is actually giving you a free way to fully visualize and discover your data estate. And don't worry, I'm actually going to be able to show this to you shortly. But it's called rGraph. It's built into that rCloud platform that I was telling you about. And using Okta or Entra ID or even both, and simply signing in via an API token, you're going to be able to discover your entire data estate. You're going to be able to map it by department, but most importantly, you're going to be able to expose those unprotected applications and actually make sure that you're resilient. So when something does happen, you always have a means to be able to recover. Now, the second most important piece here is once you've actually identified the problem, well, you have to do something about it. And that's why within Haiku, we give you the ability to not only simply subscribe to a source, meaning an application that you want to protect, but to immediately start backing it up. All you need to do is go to our marketplace, search for the application, connect via an API token, and you can start protecting and assigning backup policies in one click. But before I go into a demo and actually show you in real life how this works, there's a statement that I want to make because we're talking about protecting SaaS applications. We know that recovery is the last line of defense. We know that at minimum, you should have daily backups of all critical applications, regardless of where they are. And what I'm proud to say, because of our cloud, because of our extensible approach, we are by far the leader in data protection for SaaS applications. And if you look here, on the left is all of these services, simply business applications that are protected by Haiku. It is over 30. When you take a look at every other backup and recovery vendor in the Gartner Magic Quadrant outside of Haiku, there's only a handful that are totally protected in the aggregate. All competitors combined are only protecting a small amount of SaaS applications. We realized this was a problem. This is why we truly went out to not only make sure we protected critical on-prem and cloud, but also those business applications as well. This is just a sample of some of the SaaS applications that Haiku protects. And in fact, we didn't stop there. We also made sure to protect cloud services, which is why there are over 30 cloud services that we're also able to protect. But with that being said, I'd rather just show you how it works. Now, Jess, I may ask for some confirmation from you
Right
to
here
make sure
with
that
you,
you can
Andy.
see my screen.
Yes, nailed it on the first try. Such a pro.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jess. Now, folks, what you're looking here is our cloud. This is a SaaS that runs where you want it to run according to your residency requirements. And it's the one place that you go to protect your data with Haiku. Now, already in the keynote and other sessions, they did an excellent job about talking about MFA. Obviously, that's something that we have built in and incorporated, but I'm going to focus on two specific things. The first one I'm going to focus on is the actual discovery of these applications. As I mentioned, sometimes this is the hardest part, even understanding what you have to protect. So here is exactly how Haiku is able to do this with you. By the way, what I'm about to show you is accessible to anybody in this audience. At the end, I'll give you a code, but you can access this yourself for free. But let's actually talk about this. What you're seeing is the actual rGraph viewed live using Haiku's applications, even the things that we're running so that you can see how a real company uses this. And what rGraph does is all you need to do is leverage Okta, Entra ID, or both, and you can simply now discover, after adding your API token, your entire data estate. What do I mean by that? Well, think of this as your company. This is Haiku. This is our company right now. And then you can see these yellow nodes. What we do is we actually crawl through the entire directory in Okta, in Entra ID, and within our IP, we're able to actually associate all of the applications that belong to each department. So on a step-by-step basis, you can start exposing all of the applications that are being used in each of these departments. So you can start building a plan and understanding what are some of the problem areas. And the reason I bring this up is because we've even seen in these assessments where organizations had CMOs with larger tech stacks than the CTO itself. And that's when we realized that SaaS sprawl was a problem. And all I'm doing now for everybody who's wondering why I'm moving around so much is actually showing you how crazy SaaS sprawl can actually be. These are the SaaS services that we use in our organization. This is where your data sits outside of a data center in somebody else's cloud without you having a clean offsite copy of it. So the point of our graph is to be able to actually show you, first of all, what kind of a problem are you dealing with? But most importantly, we help you organize it. And for those who follow basketball, I always like to look at this UI almost as a March Madness approach. But what you're able to do is follow the same data structure, meaning this is my company, this is my department, but now I can start really highlighting certain SaaS applications. And we can say, look, on the productivity and collaboration side, we've actually noticed that we're using Zendesk and we're using Zoom. These are critical applications. With Zendesk, if you don't have your support tickets and you lose all that data, that is legal trouble, that is product trouble, that is engineering trouble. And what if you're a legal firm and you are recording all of your Zoom conversations and you lose them all? Well, did you know that Zoom does not have any type of self-service recovery? They don't have backup automation. They don't have any way to actually store those copies offsite in a safe way that's automated. Same thing applies to Box, to Slack. So what Haiku is able to do is not only show you the volume, but actually tell you, look, according to all these departments, here's what we found. Here are the applications that we know have no native protection. And once again, what you can do now is say, well, there's 3 applications that I want to protect. Well, all you have to do is go to the Haiku marketplace and you can search for it. So let's say that we realize that DocuSign is completely unprotected. Well, all you need to do is you can start, and everyone here can access a free trial of this, is add an API token of DocuSign and immediately start protecting it. And I'm going to show you why this is so important. Let's grab something on the engineering side. Let's grab something like Jira. Jira is one of the most critical applications. Let's say that I added Jira as a source and now have discovered all of my instances. What Haiku can do is standardize all backup processes. What I mean by this is whether I discovered Jira, Okta, GitHub, Salesforce, ClickUp, Asana, it doesn't matter. It's the same user experience where in one click, I can set a policy. And that policy can be a simple daily policy or something more sophisticated. But you can also just build your own policy, especially if you oversee many SaaS applications, you probably want to have some customization. But the most important part here, apart from recovery, is where does that data actually go? Well, instead of it being stored by Haiku or somebody else, you can point your storage, your account, for example, Amazon S3, and that will be the target site of all of your backup copies. Haiku doesn't store them. Think of us as a fully encrypted highway taking data automatically as you prescribe to your storage location so that you always have a safe area to recover. So what does that actually mean? Well, I've assigned my policy, I've stored it in AWS. Well, finally somebody did an oopsie. What do? Well, it's not just bulk script restore, it's actually granular item level restore from project level all the way down to specific configurations. This applies to Jira, this applies to GitHub, it applies to all of the SaaS applications. But you say, well, Andy, what if you don't support some of these applications? Well, within our product itself, you can request support for an application. And because of our association with Anthropic, because of the our cloud development platform, you will very, very quickly see support for that. And that is unmatched. That is why you're seeing over 60 integrations when the industry has only been able to do just a couple of SaaS applications. Now, I can go on about our cloud and the value of our platform all day, but what I want to leave you all with is a simple call to action. And all I ask for is take a true accounting of your data estate, of your cloud services, and really understand, do I have full visibility? Do I know what's protected? and take the right steps to go and start protecting it. Whether it's with Haiku or somebody else, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are protecting your data. What I added here is a QR code where you can scan this, register, and you will receive a free, no strings attached consultation. There are no sales. It is simply an engineer waiting there to advise you. You can also do it yourself, but in less than 5 minutes, as long as you're an Okta or an Entra ID user, you will be able to discover all of the services associated and actually start building a plan to truly protect all of your SaaS. But with that, I'm going to pause because I know there's probably a ton of questions, Jess.
There are. We've got some great questions coming in. Thank you so much for that, Andy. Tons of great info. And you're right. It's always great to get into it, see things in action. So I'm glad we got to kind of jump in together. And I hope that the folks out there, I'm going to leave this QR code up just for a second longer because I want to make sure that you get a chance to scan that QR code. I'm going to move over to a poll though. So last chance, grab your phone, get that QR code scanned and done. Okay. Now we've got a little poll up for all of you. And again, this is your wish list. This is your shopping list. What would you like to get in follow-up to this incredible conversation we just got to have with Andy? What could Haiku send you that would be helpful to follow up? So think about data sheets or white papers. Maybe you want to do a personalized demo, whatever it is that would be helpful for you. Click on the screen right now and let Haiku know how they can follow up with you. While you're doing that, Andy and I are going to dig into some questions. Andy, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Always. I knew that. All right, Andy. Well, let's start out with this one here. We got a couple of questions coming in around how the backup policies are assigned. And one of the follow-up questions to that was, are there limitations to the customization or to how those can be assigned?
No, absolutely not. In fact, because it's your storage, because you have full control of this data, you decide on the backup policy. So you can say, well, I'd like to take a daily backup, or I'd like to take a backup every hour. That's totally up to you. And also the retention period is totally up to you because it's storage in your control.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, that might tie in nicely to our next question. We have an audience member wondering if you could elaborate on where the backups are stored.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, right, you can store it in Amazon S3. You can store it in Wasabi, in Google Cloud Storage. That's S3 compatible. And we will be adding Azure as a storage target as well. So as long as you have an active account there, you get to control the storage access. And even if you want to enable immutability for that as well.
Nice. I like it. You have all the power. All right. Well, we got a couple of questions about licensing. And so I'm going to connect that in with a sort of follow-up question here. So wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about licensing, but also we got a question about whether or not you need to be a Haiku customer in order to use our graph. Can you answer those for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Licensing is easy, actually. One, it's a SaaS, right? So it's a pay-as-you-go per user per month approach. Whatever the application that you're trying, whatever application you're trying to protect, however you're subscribed to it, that's most likely how you're going to pay the backup for it as well. Take, for example, Okta. It's on a per user basis. Well, Haiku will be licensed on a per user basis as well. But our graph is a visibility tool. Our graph is for you to be able to discover your estate, and that's totally free, no strings attached as well.
Perfect. Okay, nice and easy. We're running short on time here, so I'm going to start to wrap it up. You know, one thing I was just kind of curious about, Andy, because we did get a couple people writing in and saying that they had, when we were asking at the start here about the amount of applications that they were, needing to consider when they're looking at their backup. And I saw answers coming in ranging from, 1 up to, I think we had 150. We had a couple of dozen at least. Is that kind of in keeping with what you would expect to see from the audience today?
Yeah, and of course there's going to be a ton of variability, but as long as you're not in the federal government, you're going to be using a substantial amount of business applications. I've seen organizations who's done an incredible job and they're using 20, 30. I've seen 800, 900, especially at the large enterprise level. It's extremely variable, but the common denominator here is that it's always more than the IT team believes to have.
That's a fantastic takeaway. And I think the other key point that I'm really holding on to at the end of your presentation was to just do something. So regardless of what your environment looks like, regardless of what that list looks like, whether it's 1 or 900, which is insane, is to start taking those action steps now. And I think you've given us some great places to get started. I wish we could keep chatting with you always, Andy, because it's such a pleasure. But since I think we're going to have to wrap it up, can you give the audience sort of a next step if they really want to jump in and start start learning more about Haiku in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, you can actually just email me at andy.fernandez@haiku.com if you just want to have a product conversation. If not, scan the QR code, click that link, and you'll be able to access the product yourself. No strings attached for those who've voted to likely to try it themselves. That's available to you. We're simply here to make sure that you're able to solve the SaaS problem as well. So I want to thank you all for your time.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Andy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jess.
All right, and to all of you out there who are getting those questions in, don't forget, if you ask a question and we don't get to it in a live Q&A session, you are still going to get answers back because we're going to send all those questions on over to the Haiku team. So Andy will follow up with you. The team will follow up with you. So you will get responses back. So keep the questions coming in. Also, make sure you're clicking on that wish list on the screen there. We want to make sure that we hear from all of you and get you the additional information that you're looking for. You know, we got a lot of content coming at you, and it's really hard to retain all of it. So these resources are a great way that you can kind of go back, jog your memory after the fact, and especially, again, if you want to share this with other colleagues. So make sure that you're clicking on that poll, make sure that you're getting those questions in, and make sure that you are clicking on the handouts tab. If you haven't already done that, visit the handouts tab, get that data sheet from Haiku on our graph, data estate discovery, and visualization. And again, really digging into this idea that visibility is the first step towards effective protection. So you want to make sure you've got that handout, as well as all the other wonderful ways that we've given you to reach out and get in touch with Andy, because hey, who doesn't want to hang out with Andy more, right? All right, so while you're all doing that, let's go ahead and do a prize giveaway. We now have a gift card and a Kindle Scribe. I'm going to do a little double whammy on the prizes now. So again, reminder, you do need to be here live and present at the MegaCast, but as I always say, where else would you rather be on this really, for me, absolutely blizzarding winter day that was supposed to feel like spring and it has instead decided to be February inexplicably. So for those of us that are inside on this snowy day, this is just really the best place we could be, is hanging out with all these cool people. So let's give some prizes away. We are going to do a $300 Amazon gift card, and that is going to Jason Slusher from Texas. Jason Slusher from Texas. Jason, I'm guessing you don't have a lot of snow, so now you have $300 and sunshine. I'm just mad at you, is what I am, Jason. But you know what? We'll still give you the prize anyways. All right. Well, we've got a Kindle Scribe going to, oh, come on, another Texan. We've got a Kindle Scribe going to Paul Martell, also of Texas. Paul Martell of Texas, you have won a Kindle Scribe. Man, all the warm sunshine and now some cool prizes. Well, congrats to you guys. I'll just sit here in the snow, freezing my little toes off. But as always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up the webinar. Plus, again, that best question gift card coming at you from each session. So keep those questions coming in. Keep in mind that we're evaluating all of those after we wrap. All right, my friends. Well, that was a lot of good stuff, and the good times are just keeping on here, because we are going to move into our very next session, and I am so excited that I get to introduce you all to this wonderful expert presenter here with us from the Zerto crew. Very happy to introduce Rick Sloan, Senior Partner Director at Zerto, powered by Keepit. Rick, I am so happy to welcome you to the MegaCast today. We've got a lot of great info ahead. I know you want to save some time for questions at the end, so Rick, I'm going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it. And it looks like Texas is cornering the market with a lot of the prizes. So
yeah,
I love
they're knocking it out of the park today, Rick.
Exactly. They'll have to come visit us in our U.S. headquarters up in Dallas. So good connection into Texas. Exactly. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Rick Sloan. I head up actually global alliances here for Keepit and Zerto. And what we're going to talk about here today is the Zerto backup for SaaS that's powered by Keepit. So let's get started. With the product itself, for the Zerto backup for SaaS, we are talking about understanding the why. Why is this important? Where are we heading to? What is important for all of you as running your IT teams? And where Wayne Gretzky has said, skate to where the puck is going, not to where it's been. So understanding the future and being able to bring your IT department into a safe and secure environment is half the challenge that you all face every single day. So you've all heard an awful lot of cloud. For 20 years now, we've been talking about cloud, its evolution, moving into multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. But some of the questions you also have to ask is, everything is migrating into the cloud. What about digital sovereignty? Where does your data really live? What's powering the hardware? AI has become a buzzword all throughout the consumer space, not just in our industry. The machine learning. The bottom line is cloud is always changing, and how it impacts your environment every year is what's making the difference. And that's where we start to talk about the SaaS applications themselves. And so with the SaaS applications, they are growing by leaps and bounds. The average organization is now having 80 to 120 applications. In the middle, 80% of the study is workplace transition. And it grew from last year from about 49% in proportion of apps being SaaS apps from last year to next year will be 72%. So in a 3-year window, you're seeing the growth of SaaS applications. Why are they so important? And they're helping reduce costs, IT staff, and all of the attributes that come along with it. Cyber spending is tied into these SaaS applications. Somehow, accidental deletions, ransomware attacks, cyber spending is up. It's astonishing to see that top right box, that next year the estimated spend will be over $10 trillion to help protect all of the SaaS applications, the cloud environments. And how do you all take that to be able to then propagate it into your environment of being able to keep your environment safe and secure? So what you need to be careful of is, what is the hardest thing than defending yourself against ransomware? Having to go to your CEO, your board, your customers, that you didn't protect yourself from an attack. What could you have done that's different? John Zangardi has said, you're going to be a victim of ransomware attack. It's not admitting defeat, it's preparing success. And how do you all prepare to be able to protect yourself? Everybody gets attacked. What you're trying to prevent is that business impacting event that takes place. And so with that, there's a whole string of bad actors. It's the Shakespearean concept of to pay or not to pay. It becomes a business decision. When we see and we read a lot of the articles that propagate out throughout the marketplace, it's always, how do we protect ourselves? It's not if, it's when. And so being able to have the right platform, being able to have the right partner to help protect your data, to make sure your data recovery is there, to make sure that your IT staff can handle all that's being handled, is the most important piece. And bad actors are kind of smart. They take a look at a company's organizations. They see what their revenues are. And when they attack an organization, it's usually about 1% to 2% is what they claim that they want for ransom. So on average, that comes to about $750,000 was the average payment during last year. But they're not done. What about the actual intrinsic value internally? The loss of the downtime, the resources that are needed, the additional expenses that come along with paying the ransomware on top of paying the ransomware. Well, those totaled more into the $4.5 million range. And again, when you start to look at what is the true average cost to rectify the impact, the downtime, the people, the opportunity cost, the customers, the loss of customers, being able to protect yourself is the number one game that everybody is going after. And so the cost of disruption is extremely important. And so you can also see that no matter what your size organization, from small to medium to large enterprise, everybody gets affected. And having immutable backups, having your ability to be able to protect yourself so that this doesn't affect you, the stats decrease. Your average business disruption is almost a month. And so being able to be proactive and preventative from any of these attacks is what the ultimate goal is. And if you are attacked, the crazy part is on average in all industries across the board, companies only get about 60% of their data back. Where's the other 40%? What's the other 40%? How important is it in order for you to continue to run your business? And so if you're being impacted by how the business runs, your ultimate goal is, if you're attacked, how do you prevent that final step? How do you prevent not having to hire the negotiator, not having to worry about what percentage you get back, but more importantly, protecting the data that you have and being able to recover without that final step? Now, we've all seen many of these cases as we've talked about in the marketplace and the various attacks that have happened out there. A few years ago, we had the Sony hack with personnel records, salaries. There's been school hacks with student records, a lot of healthcare, unfortunately, and even with HIPAA compliances, the sensitive images, the details of these organizations that just didn't protect themselves in time. But not all data loss comes from the outside. We talk about bad actors. We talk about the criminals, but really, who are they? Many times they are out of the nation states. They are the hacktivists. But let's address for a minute the insiders. The insiders that could reside in an organization, that could be paid off by somebody on the outside to say, hey, can you help me turn over some of your records? Here's what we'll pay you to do that. And so even though they're all criminal based, you also face those accidental deletions. There is nobody to blame. It just happened. And again, how do we go through protecting our SaaS data that resides in the cloud to make sure that it's all recoverable? So as I've mentioned, there's human error. Almost a third of the time, you can see it's just an accidental deletion. How do you recover it? There was an IT blunder that you can see up onto the screen where an IT analyst went to delete a user's Teams account and accidentally deleted 145,000 users' Teams accounts. It was unrecoverable. They called Microsoft. Microsoft said, no, I'm really sorry. We own the infrastructure. This is a shared responsibility model. And in the shared responsibility model, we'll make sure your infrastructure is up and running, but you need to be responsible for the data. And then we have that disgruntled employee that we just mentioned. 1,200 users. They decided on their way out the door, I'm going to unleash this. And during that event, as they were walking themselves out the door, they deleted 1,200 Microsoft 365 accounts. All of their data is gone. Company didn't have a backup. They didn't have a way to rebuild it. So they had to manually go back and figure out, how do they rebuild all this data? Obviously, fines and charges and jail time ended up in that particular person's situation. But these can be preventative. They can be prevented. And how do you do that? And so where this comes from is even IT leaders many times question, are their backups really safe? Is their backups what it's supposed to be? If you're infected, if you have to recover a file, a user, or an entire system restore, how do you restore that in a safe and secure environment? So if it's not recoverable, is it really a backup? Or is it just another production and data that's sitting there? And so for those of you that have been in this industry for a while, all of this backup used to be on-prem. And when everything was on-prem, there was a rule. Well, that rule still remains in effect. It's still valid today. It's the 3-2-1 rule. You have 3 copies in 2 different locations, at least one of them being off-site. Why is it okay today that all because you're putting your SaaS data in the cloud, that you're only given by many SaaS vendors 1 copy in your public cloud, in the same public cloud that your actual data resides in? And so if your data is sitting, if your backup is sitting in the same cloud, you're still being exposed that if the public cloud goes down for a period of time, your loss of the backup data will also go down for that period of time. But it still comes back to there's 1 copy. How is that acceptable? And so as you move forward, there's areas that really need to be looked at. And so as you have data governance, infrastructure, and determining how this will be acceptable for the risk that you have within your organization, that's where you need to understand, how do you make change? How do you have a structure that addresses important nuances, backing up and recovering your SaaS data, having a disaster recovery plan, being able to move into the whole AI world that we're all living in right now? And how do you also deal with a shortage of resources and talent within an IT department as well? And so we've taken a very different approach, an approach that Gartner looks at us as kind of being a disruptor in the marketplace. And so we took the approach more from a platform standpoint. And so the Zerto backup for SaaS that's powered by Keep It is keeping it future-proof, keep it protected, and keep it effortless. And so the approach of protecting your SaaS applications become much greater. It mitigating the risks around cyber threats, mitigating the costs and the non-compliance, and being able to have a purpose built for the cloud with the broadest support of SaaS applications for scalability, for flexibility, and to secure all of your SaaS applications. And so being able to adopt in new SaaS applications, as we mentioned earlier, they're only going to continue to grow year over year. Keeping your backups in a secure environment, having multiple copies of your backups, but also being able to save resources and making it easy to use, is areas that you really need to understand the why. And so what we're showing you in each geography as I've mentioned, we've taken a little different approach. We have our own independent private cloud, fully safe, fully secure, ISO 27001, ISE 3402 for SOC 2 compliance, PCI, HIPAA, all of the certifications you would expect. And in each geography, we have 2 data centers. We own the stack. We have no sub-processors. Again, unlike some other SaaS vendors that are in the marketplace, we own the stack. Not having sub-processors makes it a lot safer. Having AES 256-bit encryption for both in transit and at rest are important features. Here's the neat part. In our clouds, each geography has 2 data centers. They're both active. In each of those data centers is a second copy. So you remember a couple of slides ago, I mentioned that 3-2-1 rule of how it used to be on-prem? With the Zerto backup for SaaS, we actually overachieve to a 4-2-1 rule because every customer has 4 copies all stored in an immutable format in 2 different data centers and being off-site. And so now your ability of being able to protect all your data, all your users, become a lot more efficient. For those of you that may be internationally, we comply to GDPR very strongly. We have features in our platform like right to be forgotten, where you have the ability to comply to GDPR, but still have the right to forget certain data should it need to be forgotten. A plethora of SaaS applications, very strong in the Microsoft suite, Microsoft 365, Power BI, Azure DevOps, Dynamics 365. And the biggest one and most secure is Entra ID, used to be known as Azure Active Directory. In addition to Zendesk, Google Workspace, Salesforce, and through our protocol engine on our platform, our ability now to start bringing in a lot more SaaS applications in the future. And so there's a part that we separate out on our data plane versus our control plane. Well, what does that really mean? The data plane is where all the data resides. Your Microsoft 365 data, Salesforce, Google Workspace, Dynamics, all reside onto the data plane. The control plane is where your identities live. That's something that we've spearheaded here in the industry, or the undeniable leader leading the charge of helping organizations protect all of their user information around Entra ID. And Entra ID are the profiles that each and every person need in order to gain access to their data. This is what bad actors are going after because those are the keys to the kingdom. That's how you get the crown jewels. And so the challenge is protecting the control plane. Now, some of you may say, oh, we have all of our Entra IDs sitting on-prem. We're good. But are you? Because Microsoft doesn't support recovery from on-prem into Azure objects. And many of the functionalities that reside in individuals' Entra IDs are actually features of Azure objects. Control access policy, BitLocker keys, Microsoft Intune. These are all features of Azure objects. And so having a safe and secure backup that is recoverable is extremely important to protect your users from gaining access to your system to be able to get access to all of their metadata and all of their data. Now, there's a couple of companies out there that have started introducing Entra ID support. But as you can see, not all SaaS backup and recovery solutions are created equal, and nor is the support. So it's easy to check a box and say, sure, we have support for Entra ID. But what does that really mean when you really start to dive into it? What functionalities can they do? Can they help you with hard deletes versus soft deletes? Can they help protect recovery and actually show you that if somebody went in accidentally or on purpose and made changes, that you have the ability to see the differences over time and recover and restore back to how it was from the beginning? And so when you look at the purpose-built environment with the Zerto backup for SaaS that's powered by Keepit, there's functionality that was built in our platform for the cloud, purpose-built and safe and secure. From the platform itself, using a Merkle tree architecture, which is a blockchain-like technology, so that when your backup is complete, you can't go back and make changes. Having no upfront costs, having it scalable, and being, again, a disruptor in the marketplace where it's basically a price per licensed user. So it helps with predictability. And getting 4 copies of your backup, all stored in an immutable format. So as you can see, there's some key areas of where the value really starts to come into play. And I've talked a bunch about the security aspect and the single sign-on and multi-factor authentication and the certifications and the HIPAA and the PCI and the ISAE 3402, the simplicity of management, the scalability. On the cost area, there are no hidden costs. We help control your destiny of your financial spend. It's a price per active user. We don't charge for departed users. So when you have an individual that leaves your organization, you'll be able to shut down that Microsoft 365 license immediately because you'll already have a safe and secure backup and you don't pay for that. And it stays in the retention based on how long you've sent the retention policy for that user. So your existing employees can still see their files that user left behind and then go reuse that license with your new hire. It makes it very cost effective. CFOs actually love that one feature alone because of the total cost of ownership of what it does to an organization. It helps makes predictable pricing, and having predictive pricing keeps it very simple for your budgets. And as I've mentioned, there's no extra cost for ingress or egress. There is no storage costs. With the Enterprise Unlimited licenses for the Zerto backup for SaaS, it has unlimited retention up to 99 years. You as the customer set the retention. And it has unlimited data. And so it makes the solution extremely predictive from a pricing model. So much so that Forrester actually put together a total economic impact model, utilizing 5 customers, taking where their savings are, what their infrastructure looks like, and giving them the ability for it to pay back in their system in less than 6 months. This makes it a safe and secure and very affordable model from Zerto. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. And Jess, I'll see if there's any time for some questions as well.
Well, you know what, Rick? We're right at the end of time here, which is such a bummer because what an incredible presentation. I do want to tell you, you got a couple of high fives from the audience here. I think that just knocked that out of the park. And Rick, I'm hoping maybe we can get you to stick around a little bit and answer some of the questions over live chat since we'll have to kind of keep going. We're also going to make sure that we get all of the questions asked today sent onto your team. So you will have a chance to follow up with all of them over email. I'm going to move over to the poll right now. and get the audience to let us know what additional information you would all like to get about the Zerto solution. So obviously, Rick gave us a ton of great information, lots more to dig into and explore here. So whatever would be helpful for you, wherever you're at in this research journey, click on the screen and let Zerto know how they can follow up with you. Rick, I'm not going to let you go just yet because I do have one question I want to make sure we get to, which is, what would you recommend to anyone in our audience who is really excited about Zerto, pumped up, wants to learn a little bit more or get started? What is step number one to getting to know Zerto a little bit better?
Awesome. Great question. My recommendation is go out to Zerto.com. It's an HPE company. And in Zerto.com, you can click on either for a demo, a trial, or more information. We have a plethora of account executives for companies of all sizes. Set up an appointment, set up a time, and they can help go through some of the deep dives and again, set up demos. And if need be, through the whole sales process where a proof of concept makes sense, they can totally help you with that as well.
Amazing. Well, Rick, as I said, a really incredible presentation. I was on the edge of my seat, and I really appreciated a lot of the context you gave us and kind of reframing some of these conversations a bit. So certainly a lot of thought-provoking conversation here and much more to be had. I hope that you will get to carry on and continue getting to know our audience a little bit. I know we've got a lot of questions coming in, so we'll make sure you get those. Rick, I hope we get to see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Jess. Pleasure being here. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time. Again, I'm Rick Sloan. I appreciate all your time and being here and listening to us today.
All right. And to everyone out there who's asking some great questions, keep those coming. Keep clicking on that wish list, on that poll on your screen. Let Zerto know how they can follow up with you. Don't forget about the handouts tab. Make sure you get the Zerto data sheet, Zerto backup for SaaS, powered by Keep It, dedicated SaaS protection. This is a great follow-up to the conversation that we just had with Rick. So make sure you get that handout. Hold on to that. Save that for later because you're going to want to dig in a little bit further. I'm going to do a quick prize giveaway and we're going to keep things rolling here on the MegaCast. Lots to do today. It's a big day. All right. So up next, we have a $300 Amazon gift card going to someone live, present, and lucky here at the MegaCast. And that special someone is Dennis Hayes from Arkansas. Dennis Hayes from Arkansas, congratulations. You have won a $300 Amazon gift card. Stay tuned for that. We will be following up with you after we wrap our MegaCast, as well as that best question gift card. Folks, the competition is fierce today. We've got some great questions coming in. So keep that up. We definitely want to hear from you. I'm just enjoying I'm seeing a lot of high fives. Thanks, Ryan says thanks to Rick, and Yaun says great presentation. Essie says excellent presentation. We've got some Mike says great presentation. Just a whole bunch of high fives coming at you. And I know we're going to keep those good vibes going because we've got even more fun in the wings. So stay tuned, get excited, stay on the edge of your seat if you were there already. All right, my friends. Well, speaking of the edge of our seat, let's move into our next exciting presentation in the MegaCast today. And I am so happy that I get to introduce you to this dynamic duo in front of us here. And that is, of course, Sam Drogan, Data Protection Specialist, and Alex Mendez, Data Protection Specialist, both from HPE. We are going to dive in and learn a little bit more about the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Solutions, and I can't wait to hear it. So, Sam, I think you are going to kick us off, and we're going to save some time for Q&A at the end. I know we've got some demos in stores, lots to do. Sam, take it away.
Hello, and welcome to Protecting SaaS Applications, Security and Data Protections Considerations. Today, you'll be hearing from myself, Sam Drogan, and my colleague, Alex Mendez. We are both Principal Data Protection Engineers with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. So let's dive into it. Why are we here today? We want to make sure your data is available when and where you need it, and to talk about those things that try and get in the way of that. Things like cyber threats, where we have not only individuals, but state-sponsored attacks coming to try and steal or lock your data. We also have things like unplanned outages, be they natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, or even things like hardware failures or user error. On top of all of that, we still have other things getting between you and your data. Things like data complexity, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. And when we talk to our customers, we find that data availability and data integrity is a priority. We are here today to make sure that your data is available for you and your business when and where you need it. When we are talking about data availability, there's many terms that get thrown around, things like backup, DR, and archive. To solve these challenges, we want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. There's two things to consider when we talk about the differences between backup, disaster recovery, and archive. Recovery, how fast your data becomes available after an outage, and retention, how long you hold on to your data. For your mission critical applications, your tier zeros, your tier one, the data that you desperately need to keep your business running, we need to have that available as fast as possible, hopefully within single digit minutes. But we really don't need to hold on to it for that long because if it's weeks or months old, it's no longer mission critical. For that, disaster recovery. Now, we still need to hold on to some data for longer, data for month-end reports, statistical analysis, or to understand trends within our business, and for that, various other business processes. For that data, we have backup. It's okay that it takes a little bit longer to recover that data because it's not as critical to have a report from 3 weeks ago, but we still want it relatively quickly. And we also want to make sure that we can have immutable copies of that data as it contains valuable insights into our business. Lastly, we have data that we want to hold on to for the long haul. Think maybe records for compliance purposes, medical records, legal records, and some of that stuff we have to hold on to for 7 years. That falls under our archival data, data that we have to hold on for a very, very long time. Now, that's okay that it might not get there quite as quickly, but we still need to hold on to that data. And luckily, some of that slower, older data can also be a lot less expensive to protect. As we talked about, there are multiple types of data protection solutions, and we want to make sure we have the right protection for the right workload and the right SLAs. We make sure within HPE that we have a solution for all of your needs. Things that need the fastest SLAs, which are the most critical for your business, we have our disaster recovery solutions, things like Zerto for VMs, Zerto for cloud, Zerto for disaster recovery through an MSP, or HP GreenLake for disaster recovery through our HP GreenLake cloud platform. Then, for our backup, for our archival type data, we have HP GreenLake for backup and recovery. We have our physical devices, like our HP Store ones, and we even have Zerto for backup specifically for our SaaS type applications. Lastly, we have solutions to combat cyber threats with our cyber recovery offerings, protection from things like ransomware with our Zerto Cyber Resilience Vault, which I'll dive into a little bit deeper later in the presentation. Together, all of these solutions give you a total protection from DR to backup to archival, from minutes of recovery speed to years of retention, all while protecting against cyber resilience threats. The HP GreenLake Cloud Platform, and let me just touch a little bit more on this. This service allows you to protect your data with multiple data service offerings. It is a self-service, HPE-managed cloud platform. It provides the simplicity and agility of the public cloud with the security, government and compliance, and performance benefits of an on-premise IT infrastructure. It's basically the public cloud experience at your own data center. The self-service and ease of use becomes more impactful as you add more and more HPE hardware and more HPE services into your environment, and they can all be managed under this single unified platform. We spoke about earlier, there's multiple components to think about when it comes to data protection. We can protect all of those within the HP GreenLake platform. First, we have HP GreenLake for disaster recovery for those very quick mission critical recoveries, and we have HP GreenLake for backup and recovery for those longer term backup and archival needs. Let's dive in a little bit deeper to a specific solution, HP GreenLake for backup and recovery. You may be asking yourself, what is HP GreenLake for backup and recovery? Well, I can answer that. It is a SaaS-based offering, easy to deploy, set up policies, and manage through a single management console. The service gets automatic, timely upgrades without any disruption or downtime. It is a cloud-native service that eliminates complexity, freeing you from the day-to-day hassles of managing your backup. Utilizing the HP Catalyst, it provides super efficient backup capabilities with source-side deduplication, making the most efficient use of network bandwidth. Our testing has actually shown that backup and recovery service to be up to 8 times more storage efficient than similar backup solutions. On top of all of this, it is secure. It is built on the HP GreenLake platform, which has built-in encryption. Data is inaccessible to hackers by creating backup stores which are not directly accessible by the OS. There's the data immutability feature, which prevents backups from being deleted or modified before the configured retention date. Once the retention date has been set, it cannot be reduced and the backup is safe from attack or accidental disruption. We also have included additional safety features like dual-factor authentication to provide defense and protection against ransomware attacks or insider attacks where a malicious user tries to delete your precious data. Here we can see a quick overview of how the service works. The blue dotted line in the middle of the slide shows what is in the HP cloud and what is on your on-premise infrastructure. Starting at the top, you will see the Data Services Cloud Console Management portal that sits securely on the HP GreenLake platform. This is where you can access the server and it provides global management. From this console, you can work your backup and recovery operations for your VMware on-premise VMs, data stores, and Microsoft SQL servers, HP primary block storage, as well as AWS cloud services. As you can see, the global protection policies can specify where you back up your workloads. We have built-in tiering capabilities for on-premise workloads, and you can back up these workloads to a secondary device for on-site long-term retention. This can be an HP Store Once, HP MSA, HP Apollo, or any block or NFS appliance. You also have the ability to send these backups to the HPE Cloud Protection Store. This is for cost-effective long-term retention. For your AWS workloads, we currently support protection of EC2, EBS, RDS, and EKS. These can also be backed up to the HP Cloud Protection Store. We do not charge ingress or egress fees, so customers will not be charged for sending or retrieving their backup data to the HP Cloud Protection Store or from the HP Cloud Protection Store. It's time to dive in a little bit deeper to our next solution, HP GreenLake for disaster recovery. For this, we are talking about the industry-leading continuous data protection solution called Zerto, and we're inserting that solution into the HPE GreenLake Cloud Platform. Basically, we are giving you SaaS-based disaster recovery. We're giving you global multi-site management for your hybrid cloud environment, all integrated into the HPE GreenLake Cloud Platform. Let's dive into what's actually going on behind the scenes. It's important to understand this is not an MSP type situation. We're not providing you a data center for your data. We're providing you a cloud console to orchestrate your on-premise components. Replication happens between your own data centers. It stays within your own sites. Now, this can be on-premise sites, and we also have public cloud sites coming soon, with the benefit of having a local console available when needed. Now that we have heard a little bit more about GreenLake and some of the data protection offerings, let's dive into our first demo from Alex. Alex, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we have our VMware environments. On the left-hand side is production. On the right-hand side is my DR site. You'll see I have the on-premise components for GLBR and GLDR at each, as well as a certain VM in production that I will be protecting. So next, we'll look at the GreenLake Cloud Platform. This is what you would see when you log in. You can do things as far as user management, add services, manage your workspace, where you can do things like add more users, gain API access, add single sign-on capabilities, as well as MFA. So from there, we'll go ahead and launch the Data Services Cloud Console. This is where you'll get access to all of the tiles in the as-a-service offerings here. So you can also set up dual authorization as well as email notifications for backup and recovery. In here, we get the dashboard, pretty straightforward. And the first thing you would do when setting this up is configure these on-premise components. So you saw these in my vCenter environment. These are the same on-premise components you had seen there, data orchestrator and protection storage gateways. The next thing you would do is create a policy. I already have one made. This is configured for backing up locally as well as to the cloud. In this case, just a VMware virtual machine, although we can protect a few other types of assets. You'll see here, my VM is protected. I have recovery points both locally on the protection storage gateway as well as in the cloud protection store. And next, seamlessly, we'll switch over to the GLDR dashboard. Very similar unified interface. One of the first things you would do here is set up the on-premise components to allow replication from site to site. Those are those VMAs. Lastly, you'll see I have a protection group called PG-SQL. This is being protected from production to DR, and in this protection group settings, you can see that same VM I had protected in backup and recovery is protected in the GLDR solution. These solutions play nicely together, and you can use them alongside each other with no conflict. Now I'll hand it back to Sam to discuss Zerto for virtual machines and cloud.
Thanks, Alex.
so much,
That
Alex.
was a great demo. On to the next solution, specifically Zerto for virtual machines. So what is Zerto? Well, it's been the industry leader in disaster recovery since 2011. It helps you eliminate data loss and downtime with continuous data protection. It's a software-only, hypervisor-based replication engine that provides orchestrator failover, failback, and non-disruptive testing for your on-premise and cloud VM workloads. Zerto provides you disaster recovery across both on-premise, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments. It allows you to replicate on-premise, to, from, and within the cloud, or any combination thereof. With one-to-many replication, we allow you to make sure your data is available when and where you need it. What does this look like from an architecture perspective? Well, for each site where you want to protect your data, you need to have a single virtual machine called a ZVM or Zerto Virtual Manager. This is a hardened Debian Linux VM, and really you could think of this as the brains of the operation. It's what tells everything what to protect and where to protect it, and what kicks off the recovery. But in order to actually protect the data, we do need something called a virtual replication appliance. And this was what allows us to have our scale-out architecture. It goes one per host that you have, and it's really the muscle of the operation, the front end of the operation. It's actually what's looking at your VMs as they're running data down to disks. And it takes that data as it's being written, those block-based changes, it takes a copy of that block-based change and it replicates it to wherever you want to protect that data to, locally, offsite, cloud. And it takes that data and builds out what we call a journal. You could think of this like a TiVo or a DVR. It allows you to protect your data everywhere and hold on to that journal from 1 hour all the way back to 30 days ago. And it can recover that data to within seconds of data loss by turning that journal to exactly the point in time that you need. So what makes Zerto different? What's our unique differentiators? Well, there's really 4 key factors here. First, it's that continuous data protection. I talked about that TiVo-like replication. You rewind in time just before disaster struck. Then there's that orchestration, that automation. With a single click of a button, we can fail over individual VMs all the way up to entire data centers, or anywhere between, like an individual application. We also have the ability to do multi-cloud environments, so it's not just on-prem protection, it's cross-hypervisor, cross-cloud within the same cloud, whether it's public, private, or hybrid. And this idea of simplicity at scale. We have customers that protect a couple of VMs to thousands of VMs, all managed through that single user interface. On to our last solution of the day, the Zerto Cyber Resilience Vault. As with our previous solutions, let's talk high level before we get into the architecture. There's three high-level pillars that we focused on with the Cyber Resilience Vault. The first is the idea to replicate and detect. With Zerto, we're running near synchronous replication combined with near synchronous encryption detection. This first pillar leads directly into the second. Once we detect that data encryption, we want to isolate it and lock it. And with the Cyber Resilience Vault, we allow you to have the standard 3-2-1 level of backup with the added protection of multi-cloud and immutability support. Lastly, we have your data locked. We want to be able to test it and recover it. You don't want to just recover a backup and assume the ransomware is gone. We want to prove to you that the ransomware is gone. And we can do that with our non-disruptive testing and providing you with flexible recovery options. If you take a look at this, you'll notice the Cyber Resilience Vault starts very similar to Zerto. We have the ZVM and the VRA, and then we have our secondary site. Now we're doing that same data protection, that same encrypted continuous replication from our production site to our replication target, while providing the inline encryption detection and alerting. But what makes us different here is the addition of this vault. We're going to take a copy of your journal, a copy of your protected data, and we're going to have an air gap copy going between the two Electra arrays. This provides periodic replication that is encrypted and a full air gap with port-to-port direct connect. This allows us to have immutable snapshots not only of the replicas, but of the journals and all of the Zerto components needed for recovery. That way, in the unlikely scenario where both your production and your replication sites are hit and disabled due to a ransomware event, you still have those immutable copies of your data and your Zerto components in the vault to get you back up and running. It's not just HPE saying this. Let's go take a look at our industry leaders, Gartner. Isolated recovery environments, or IREs, with immutable data vaults, or IDVs, provide the highest level of security and recovery against insider threats, ransomware, and other forms of hacking. You need to protect your data protection solutions. It's increasingly being mandated by regulators, and honestly, it's just smart protection to have a multi-layered defense, and you need to make sure you have emergency recovery options so that when your standard options run into trouble, you still are able to keep your business running. Because just like we have a multi-layered defense, they have multi-layer offense coming at you. And if you're not ready, it's not a matter of if you're going to get hit, it's when you're going to get hit. Now that we have heard a bit more about Zerto and the Zerto solutions, let's get another fabulous demo from Alex.
Okay, so we have our vCenter servers here, one in production, one for our DR site. We have a ZVMA at each location, and we also have VRAs deployed on each host in these locations. I do have a VM that's already protected, this one here, and I've mistakenly started to run some ransomware payload on it. Can Zerto do anything to help us here? And not only help us, but properly identify a point in time that is safe to recover to. Let's take a look at the Zerto dashboard to start. You get some meaningful metrics here, such as number of VMs and VPGs you have, how much WAN traffic you're using, if there are any running tasks, things like that. And next, we'll take a look at the sites section. And this is where you just simply manage pairing one ZVM to another. You don't spend a lot of time in here. If we go into the VPGs, this shows us some information about the VMs we're protecting and where they're being backed up to. Similar for this view, it's more granular. And in the Setup tab, this is where you'd handle managing and deploying your VRAs. As you can see, I have one VRA installed on each host that I have. And now we can look at the recovery operations, including failover test, failover live, restore at the file level, as well as move operations. And this allows us to perform a planned migration instead of performing a failover live. So now if we go back to that list of VPGs, we can see in real time, yes, this attack is happening on that VM, and Zerto's already informed us of this. So if we go into that VPG and want to perform a recovery operation, we can choose a point in time that we know was not impacted by that ransomware payload. So by clicking on the checkpoint, we can look at all the latest tagged checkpoints, which Zerto does insert one for us. But we can also look at all of the available checkpoints. And if we just click down at the bottom there, we'll be able to see the latest tagged checkpoint that Zerto shows encryption behavior has occurred. So we can actually go back to a checkpoint or two just prior to that event and know that we're restoring to a point in time that has not been affected by this ransomware payload. Thanks. Thank you everybody for your time today. Now I'll hand it back to Sam once again so we can show how to learn more about the solutions we covered today.
Thanks again, Alex. That was another wonderful demo. You should do this for a living. So now that you have seen and heard a little bit more about the HPE GreenLake Cloud Platform, how do you get started? Well, you can simply scan the QR code on screen to get a free 90-day trial for HPE GreenLake for backup and recovery. We also have a link in the presentation provided for HPE GreenLake for disaster recovery trials. Simply click the link or scan the QR code and try this out for yourself. That's all of the content we have pre-prepared for today, but we'll be sticking around to answer some questions if you have any.
Well, luckily, we've got lots of questions coming in, and we definitely want to get into a conversation. Thank you guys so much for that wonderful presentation. I agree, you should both do this for a living. I'm glad that you do. And before we get into our audience Q&A, I do want to point out that we have a poll up on the screen for all of you out there. What we're wondering is, what is the additional information that you would like to get about the HPE solution? So we just got a lot of great insight from Sam and from Alex. There's so much more to dig into here, so please do let the HPE team know how they can follow up with you just by clicking on the screen right now, and you'll get exactly what you're looking for. Now, you can also submit your questions in through the questions tab, and even if we don't get to you in our live Q&A that we're going to squeeze in here with a little amount of time that we've got, we will get follow-ups to you over email. So get that clicks going on the poll, get those questions coming in. While you're doing that, Alex and Sam and I are going to dive into questions. We are very tight, but I'm going to try to sneak in two of them. Can we start out with this one here? Because I think this comes up quite a bit. Could you guys give us your key uniques? What do you think makes the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise solution really stand out in the market?
For me, I would say it's the overall platform, not just the individual products themselves, but the uniformed interfaces, the familiarity across all of the solutions, and being able to manage that under one pane of glass is really the big differentiator for me.
I appreciate that. Okay, anything else you want to add?
No, I think Alex did a great job of answering the question.
Okay, Alex, you knocked it out of the park on the first go there. Very nice. Can we talk a little bit about, for anyone out there that is not coming in as an existing HPE client? And I did get a question that I can see. I don't currently have HPE storage, so am I at a disadvantage if I'm using GreenLake for backup and recovery?
Oh, I can take that. I would say no. I mean, without having HPE storage, you can't onboard to the cloud platform, so you would lose out on the ability to manage the storage that way. But similar to our other data protection offerings, like Sam had shown us, GreenLake for disaster recovery and Zerto, which are both storage agnostic, you can certainly use both of those services and protect data all the same, even if you don't have HPE storage.
Perfect. Okay, as I said, unfortunately, we're very tight on time today, so I'm going to have to leave it there, which is really unfortunate because we've got a lot of great questions still coming in. Like, as we mentioned before, that we will make sure that those get sent to your team. Before I let you go, though, Sam, you gave us some great sort of next steps and follow-ups right at the end of our conversation here today, and I'd like to revisit those just one last time. For somebody out there that is really excited to jump in, learn a little bit more about HPE, wants to continue this conversation, what do you recommend as the very first step to getting to know HPE a little bit better?
Sure. So we provided a link to the data protection data sheet as part of this presentation, and I would go there first. It has a great overview of the GreenLake platform and answers some basic questions. And then if you're happy with what you see and want to learn more, just ask to speak to an HPE representative on that page, and somebody will reach out and give you all the information you need.
Fantastic. Nice and easy. Alex, any last thoughts from you?
No, I think I'm good, but thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
All right, my friends. Well, thank you very much for joining. It's been really fun having you here. We appreciate the conversation. I hope we get to chat with you both again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, so all of you out there that are looking for that handout that Sam was just telling us about, it's in your handouts tab. So just click on over to the handouts tab and you will find that wonderful takeaway from HPE. Again, this is a great follow-up. And actually there's a video on data protection products all from HPE. There's a bunch of other resources. It's a really in-depth resource center that is linked for you in that handouts tab. So be sure that you go spend a little time exploring. There's a lot to dig into there and a lot to follow up on this conversation. Now, again, keep clicking on the poll that you see on your screen. Keep getting those questions in. While you're doing all of that, let me go ahead and give away another prize. It's another double whammy this time. We've got a $300 Amazon gift card and a Kindle Scribe going to 2 lucky winners who are live and present in the MegaCast with us today. So our very first or very next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Shou Zhao from Massachusetts. Shou Zhao from Massachusetts. You have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And our next winner of a Kindle Scribe, Randon Walters from Illinois. So congratulations to you both. We'll follow up with you after we wrap, and stay tuned for that best question gift card. Keep in mind that you are entered to win just by asking those questions. So keep that coming. All right, well, we are going to keep things rolling right along in the MegaCast because it is time for another presentation. And as you can see, we are definitely keeping the good times rolling. We get to chat with the Veeam team. I love that. That always sounds like a bunch of superheroes coming in. And we're not far off, really. We've got another superhero with us, and that's Edward Watson, Principal Product Marketing Manager at Veeam. Edward, thank you so much for being here with us today on the MegaCast. I can't wait to hear what you've got in store. I'm going to hand things on over to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, at Veeam, we do have a superpower that is backup, and of course, recovery. But let's talk about M365 because that's such a relevant application today and something that I know many organizations are concerned about. And there's good reason for that, right? Because ultimately, Microsoft 365 data is one of those applications that is starting to see a lot more interest, especially from ransomware. And of course, when it comes to the recovery capabilities, when incidents do occur, in the last 12 months, actually, many organizations did see, almost half of all organizations surveyed did see some form of data loss. But when it comes to recovery, that is not a given. In fact, less than 25% were able to effectively recover 100% of their M365 data after an attack. Of course, if you are using third-party backup solutions such as Veeam, you can expect much more reliable, trustworthy recovery methods that you can rely 100% on and even increase your recovery times ultimately. So digging a little bit deeper from a high level, I think most of us now today, in today's day and age, maybe 3-4 years ago, it was not as prevalent, but I think there is this knowledge now around this customer perception that we used to have. And that really was more of a misconception of that Microsoft took care of both the data and the infrastructure. But really, in reality, it's that the data is simply the customer's, our responsibility. We need to make sure that we have a backup. We can rely on that solid resilience that Microsoft provides, of course. But when it comes to that data, making sure we have a copy is absolutely mission critical. And I think the testament to that is, of course, Microsoft coming out with their very own first-party backup solution as well. Now, a lot can go wrong. There's a few different things that we found in our survey, but ultimately, admins are agreeing, right? Our community agrees that, yes, I do need better restoration capabilities. I do view accidental deletion as something I need to mitigate. I need to extend beyond what is built in within Microsoft 365 to ultimately provide my organization with absolute mission critical resiliency. But furthermore, we are seeing that many organizations are finding many different methods for how they protect the data. And we actually, in our trends report, we actually surveyed many organizations, about 1,700 organizations, and we asked this very question, what does something like a backup service mean to you? And which of these are most important to you in regards to this? And it was very interesting. The meaning was obviously the backup service runs from the cloud was the most prevalent. And then, of course, followed by delivered by the actual software provider. And that was actually the most important aspect, was delivered by the actual backup provider as a service. Along with some of these other ones, the offsite backup repository and deploy managed by the third-party staff. But really what Veeam's done is, as many vendors have done, is we've taken note of the fact that many companies want to leverage backup service directly from the vendor. So that leads me to the 8 benefits of BaaS. And clearly there are many benefits of many of these deployment options that are available. But there are so many different benefits, everything from being able to leverage an all-inclusive service to usually being able to achieve things like getting unlimited storage, meeting compliance, governance, leveraging a solution tailored for M365. So all of these, I think, really add up to why we're seeing a really big shift in how organizations consume backup today. But ultimately, you want to be able to work with a vendor that offers the freedom of choice. And I think that kind of leads me into these 3 options and how customers are consuming it. In addition to the backup service, which is obviously accessed through a web browser, you should also be able to access backup via traditional methods, via just a software download, deployed on any infrastructure. And of course, if you want a fully managed option, still be able to, from the single vendor, be able to take advantage of this offering. So this is really what has led Veeam as a company to really invest heavily in all 3 of these methods, so that ultimately, if you want a backup software that you download and deploy, you can absolutely have full customization and management from soup to nuts, whether that's the initial backup planning and architecture to connecting any storage that you might need, either on premises or in the cloud, and of course, having full control over your restore operations. Now, backup service, right? That involves some management that's taken care of by the vendor. And you can see that on the Veeam side, just on a high level, when it comes to actually getting that back up and running, getting the infrastructure, the back-end storage and all, the software updates, the patches, that is all taken care of by the vendor, by Veeam software. You still have control over your backup operations. You still have control over your restores, your SLAs, but ultimately half of that load, maybe, shall we say in quotations, the not so fun stuff, right, that it takes to actually get up and running and get a quick backup to market. That is what Veeam is allowing through Veeam Data Cloud. And I'm excited to kind of go through that in a little more detail as well. But of course, you should be able to have a fully managed option. So of course, up top, your full control, backup service, half control, half the vendor managed. And then if you want to completely offload that control, you want to be completely hands off as an organization, you can, of course, leverage a service provider that will take care of all of this for you, all of the backup operations. And we work with what we call VCSPs, which are our Veeam Cloud and Service Provider partners that really provide great service from soup to nuts so that you simply can get on with your business operations. So with that, I am really excited to dive into our backup service, Veeam Data Cloud. And that's something that we've come out with really in the past few months, is this new backup service. This is based on a technology that's been around for the past 7 years. It's based on Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, our software service, and really provides everything that you would need to effectively run your backup without any of the headaches and complexity of actually getting up and running. So when I say everything is included, I mean a lot is included. So you can see that on the Veeam managed side, everything from the server to the proxies or data movers, to the unlimited storage that we provide, to the networking, the maintenance, to all of the updates and patches that you would normally have to configure yourself. Veeam does all of that for you, and again, provides you that service with which you can create your backup jobs, still have control of your recovery, definitely have control of your search capabilities, and leverage a whole host of backup operations that really give you control and security as well. So you can see that really there's a huge benefit if you, and for organizations today that really don't have a backup but need one in place very, very quickly. This allows you to simply get up and running within the next few days. So again, that's a lot of the benefit that we're seeing with this is you can simply get up and running incredibly quick with a very intuitive point and click UI. You can easily create your first backup within the first 10 minutes, store your data in really any cloud region of choice. And of course, we are guaranteed to be certified with the global certs as well as MFA and built-in encryption. So I want to take a moment here and actually share what this product actually looks like. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. Please confirm that you can see this okay.
I'll give you a little check. Oh, nailed it, Edward. Nice.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this beautiful dashboard that you'll see here, and I'm slightly biased, but I believe it really does show everything that you would need. And what I love the most about this is you can wake up in the morning while you're drinking your coffee, and you can have some actionable items that you can look at here. So you can see your backup status. You can see the number of users protected. Am I making progress to my retention? How am I making progress? You can see all of the changing license activity, number of unprotected users, and even who is consuming the most storage. And I think the internal teams had a laugh with me consuming the most storage here. But you have actionable items that you can take right away. Maybe I need to investigate this. Maybe I need to look into that, right? So there's lots of things you can do. So let's navigate first into our backup jobs here. And this is actually a virtual walkthrough that you can take as well. And it's simply point and click. So select your backup to display. These are the backup jobs. We'll go ahead and create a new backup here. And we're going to name this whatever we'd like. And from here, we are going to back up the following objects. So we can either back up our individual users, groups, SharePoint sites, teams, or even partial organizations as well. So we're going to back up our sites, and we're going to go ahead and we can either run our backup jobs automatically at a specific time every day, or periodically every so often. So we can select all the various hours and how often we want our RPO to be. And from there, we can create the job. You can see the backup job has been created. And from there, we can go ahead and dig into the actual job itself to conduct a restore. So let's go ahead and search for a user. We want to find a file for Heidi. It's the financial template. We're going to go ahead and click on the item we want to restore, and we will restore the selected item. We can choose whether it goes back to the original location, to our local computer as a download, or in the background for large objects. We'll go ahead and original location. We get our restore confirmation, and it's as easy as that. So with that, I would love to be able to copy the link here for anyone that is interested in this walkthrough. But you can see that this is a very easy to use software. It really takes our traditional software and really gives it a modern spin with this backup service and clean web-based user interface. So with that, I'll stop sharing and I'll get into some quick takeaways here. Okay, we should be back on the slides now.
You're back. You nailed it.
Excellent. Excellent. So if you would like to take a look at the interactive walkthrough that I just showed you, please go ahead and click the QR. Feel free to take a tour of that. And we also have another QR code on the following slide here. So get your QR scanners ready. And you are more than welcome to request a demo if you would like. So if you would like more of a hands-on look, and we can start kind of looking at your environment and kind of talking through some things and some scenarios, definitely give that a click as well. And when it comes to how this is priced, we want to be very visible, in terms of how this is priced. So when it comes to the backup software, this is user priced per user per month. So this is $1.80 per user per month, very competitive. When it comes to our backup service, it is $3.50. Now that does include the backup infrastructure. That includes the unlimited storage, right? So that's why it's slightly more per user, still very competitive, slightly more per user compared to the backup software. And of course, on the partner side with managed service offerings, that will, of course, vary. So I think with that, we can open it up to any questions that we've received.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Edward. That was awesome. I'm so glad that we got to jump in and see that user experience a little bit more. And I hope everyone got a chance to get those QR codes. Maybe actually what I'll do is just put that back up for a quick second. Make sure that everyone has as much time as possible with that QR code to get that. And then I'm going to move over to the poll screen. So you all know what this is by now. This is, again, your wish list. And you're going to let Veeam know what is the additional information that you would like to get to follow up on the conversation that we're having here today with Edward. So there's lots more to dig into. And hey, one of the options there is request a personal demo. So if you want to make sure that that's something that you get, you can get the QR code, you can click on the poll. You got like 5 different ways to go to make sure that you get the info you want. All right, I'm going to move over to that poll right now. So make sure that you are clicking and letting Veeam know how they can follow up with you. All right, so Edward, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready to jump in. Okay, so we started this conversation talking about Microsoft 365. Obviously, that is a big point for a lot of folks, and that's very important. I'm going to ask you to just expand on that a little bit more. We did get a more specific question wondering about Microsoft Dynamics 365. Just wondering if I can ask you to kind of start with elaborating a little bit more on the M365 suite and the protection there.
Yeah, so when it comes to Microsoft 365, the applications that we support today are your core applications. That's going to be Exchange Online. That's going to be OneDrive for Business. That's going to be Microsoft Teams. We also support SharePoint Online today. We are continuing to expand. I know that we came out with our Salesforce solution for in terms of SaaS, and we'll be coming out with many more, definitely support for many more SaaS-based applications very, very soon. I can promise you that.
Yeah, you guys don't stay still for very long at Veeam. There's always
new
stuff.
Definitely.
Well, let's keep going here. How about what storage can I use with Veeam Data Cloud?
Can I just make it easy and say any?
Yes, you can.
Honestly, it really, seriously, I would challenge the folks listening. Think of any storage in your mind. We support it. You would be hard pressed to find a storage that we don't support. On the backup software side, Of course, on the backup service side today, we're talking Azure Cool, right? So obviously you get a little more flexibility if you go the software route. If storage is something you really need highly customized to your organization, the backup software might be the direction to go. Again, the service has its strengths as well, just on Azure Cool today in terms of storage.
Well, you've given us the perfect handoff here because so we've got lots of strengths. We did have a question coming in asking if there were any limitations and specifically to the number of users that they'd be able to back up.
In fact, that's actually a very timely question because we are only increasing the amount of users and the efficiency. I would say I would challenge that even the very largest enterprises with hundreds of thousands of users could be supported, and we do have customers that large. So that definitely back up with efficiency, restore with efficiency, and we're only continuing to evolve how efficient our backup solutions are.
Well, I feel like so far the answers have been, yeah, we got you. We can do it all. We've got lots of cool things coming. So the positivity is definitely rolling. How about we had a question coming in about integrations with Microsoft's backup solution?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I did mention that there was a first party backup, right, from Microsoft coming soon. I know many people and the community are excited about that. We were chosen as one of the backup vendors that will integrate with Microsoft 365 backup APIs. And we see this as the best of both worlds in terms of our customers being able to leverage both Veeam together with Microsoft. This is a great partnership that we've had for many years. So we think it's a win-win for customers and what we'll be able to do with that integration coming soon. So stand by again, coming soon.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. You're definitely giving us a lot of teaser trailers in this one, Edward. We'll have to have you back on again when everything has launched and we can dig into everything.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to sneak in one more question, though, before we let you go on this round. And this is a great question because, RPO, RTO, all our major kind of key deliverables and points measurements that we're looking at when we think about recovery come up quite a bit. So we did get a question from the audience asking if we could explore a little bit of maybe a best practice. And what would you recommend as an RPO?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And honestly, it will depend and vary by organization. But what I will say is that you should be able to achieve the RPO that your business requires, right? So if that is every 5 minutes, then yes, you should be working with a vendor, in quotes, like Veeam, that can achieve a very low RPO, right? And if you want to customize your RPO per department. So say if you want to have your C-suite with a much lower RPO compared to maybe your finance or some other department, maybe you want to back up them every once a day or twice a day as opposed to every 5 minutes, you should be able to tier your backups per the importance of the data you're protecting. So certainly that's something that Veeam takes very seriously in terms of the way our product functions and works, and divvying up the backup based on the importance of the data. So that's what I would say in terms of RPO.
That's a really great answer. And you know what, Edward, I'm not sure that I've heard that come up as much as I would like it to. The difference between, I think we tend to think on an organizational level. And I love the point you just made there of team to team, and that there could potentially be a difference in RPO strategies, approaches, and needs from team to team as well as organizationally. So that's right. A pretty cool takeaway. I hope that sticks with the audience out there. Among all of your other key takeaways, Edward, which you've given us quite a few, I wish I could say that we are good on time, but unfortunately we're really tight up against it today. It's been a busy MegaCast, so I'm going to have to relieve things there. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask you if there's any next steps that you'd like to recommend for the audience out there, and especially getting started with Veeam.
Yeah, I think the next step is certainly, if you don't have a backup of M365, certainly I recommend you start investigating either with Veeam or someone else. Either we hope with Veeam, but for starting with Veeam, we do hope you'll visit veeam.com, and that will be the perfect start to really exploring all of our products. But I think the overall takeaway is please back up your M365 data. I've seen so many disasters strike where it's simply too late, and the backup was not in place. So get that precious data protected.
Well, a fabulous takeaway, as I said, among many. I really appreciate you being here with us today, Edward. This has been a ton of fun.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
All right, to everyone out there that's asking some great questions, and I know that we didn't get to all of them, keep those questions coming in because we're going to make sure that those get sent to the Veeam team. So you will get responses back from the superheroes over at Veeam. So keep the questions rolling. Also, make sure you're clicking on that poll. Make sure you let Veeam know how you would like them to follow up with you. While you're doing that, I will also recommend that you visit the handouts tab. If you haven't already done so, there is a fabulous handout for you from Veeam. You can snag the 8 benefits of a backup service for M365. So again, this is a fantastic way to just really call out those immediate key benefits that you're looking for and what you need to be taking in mind into account as you're considering the value of, partnering with somebody, as Edward said, somebody like Veeam. And I hope that's where you guys all go from here. I hope that you spend a little time, letting all this information sink in and settle in and mull it all over, and then take some action. Book those demos, book those conversations, book those follow-ups, because the conversation that we're having here is just the starting point, and there's lots more to learn. And you want to make sure that you are taking action on all these exciting things and all these exciting opportunities, so that you can get that peace of mind. You can know that you've thought ahead and planned ahead, and you're not waiting for that bad day. As Edward was just saying, it's really important to put in a little bit of that proactivity now, so it doesn't catch you on your heels a little bit later. All right, while you guys are clicking on the screen, while you're getting in those last questions, you're clicking on the handout. Boy, I've given you a lot of homework here today. I'm going to go ahead and give you a prize. We will do a $300 Amazon gift card, and that is going to go to someone who is here, lucky, present, live with us at the MegaCast, and that special someone is Fernando Noriega from California. Fernando Noriega from California, congratulations to you, Fernando. We will follow up about your $300 Amazon gift card after we wrap, and I will remind you all that there is still another chance to win, plus there are those best question gift cards coming at you from each one of the sessions, so keep those questions rolling. All right, well, here I have some good news and I have some bad news. The bad news is we are at our very last presentation of the day, so we are about to bring our MegaCast to a close. Here's the good news, though. We are not wrapping it up. We are not winding down. We are ramping things up because, as you can see, we have the Commvault crew here with us to bring it on home. I am so excited to introduce you all to our very last speaker of the day, our grand finale, and that is Michael Sherritt, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Commvault. Michael, thank you so much for being here with us today to bring us on home to wrap up this MegaCast. I'm going to join you for some Q&A once we get through your presentation. Then Mackenzie is actually going to join us, and we'll have Mackenzie Puddesy joining us to wrap up our MegaCast. So we've got a whole bunch of fun in store for all of you. I am going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Jess, and thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar entitled Protecting SaaS Applications, Security and Data Protection Considerations. I'm Michael Sherritt. I'm a Senior Manager for Product Marketing at Commvault, and let's go ahead and get started. Commvault helps companies stay resilient in the face of powerful forces impacting organizations around the globe. First, the threat of ransomware is everywhere, including backup environments. Microsoft reports that 99% of ransomware tampers with the security and backup infrastructure. The prevalence and pervasiveness of AI also bring about the second significant shift. 85% of security professionals say AI is the main force behind the drastic increase in cyber attacks. And yes, AI-driven attacks include some sophisticated techniques like those that groups like Lapsus carried out against NVIDIA and Okta, or like the attack against Cisco, where hackers used AI to exploit a vulnerability in router software. Finally, data is distributed, sprawls across clouds, regions, and applications, leading to exponential hybrid cloud chaos. And ransomware thrives in this chaos. Over 90% of organizations report that their resiliency to cyber attacks is impacted because of the gaps and complexities that arise from the fractured tools that they attempt to rely on to safeguard data. Safeguarding your SaaS app data is crucial, and what you need to know is you don't have to do it alone. Commvault Cloud, powered by Metallic AI, offers trusted data security protection for your SaaS app data. It is purpose-built to enable cyber resilience in the hybrid world, providing the highest security, intelligence, and recovery speed. With Commvault Cloud, you can secure your data, predict risks, minimize damage, and quickly recover from any threat. Some of the top causes for SaaS app data loss include 21% to data corruption, 25% to malicious attack, and 20% to accidental deletion. And the rate of unstructured data is growing. 80% of all our data will be unstructured by 2025, and companies have also got cost control pressure, IT resource constraints, and complex compliance policies to adhere to. And almost 100% of businesses struggle to manage unstructured data. Protecting SaaS app data is your responsibility, but it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Unfortunately, only 13% of businesses understand that they are responsible for their data when using SaaS apps. Commvault delivers trusted data security protection for your SaaS app data and beyond. Microsoft itself acknowledges businesses are always responsible for their data and recommends dedicated protection. SaaS apps have redefined how we work and enabled organizations to stay nimble and better adapt to change. 70% of the apps used are IT-sanctioned SaaS apps, and businesses use an average of 80 SaaS tools. SaaS has impacted every aspect of work: communications, productivity, operations management, project planning, and more. Businesses that take the approach of establishing basic security practices for creating passwords and sharing files help reduce the risks when using SaaS services. At the same time, they may give little thought to how the data is generated, collected, and backed up by their favorite SaaS apps, which can be problematic as it does not guarantee protection when cybercrime strikes. Cybercriminals realize application vulnerabilities happen and work tirelessly to exploit them. Exploiting a vulnerability is the most common root cause of ransomware attacks. As they harvest information through social engineering efforts or mine latent loopholes in systems, they find ways to hack company networks and inject malware. Once the malware gets into a network, it corrupts machines and/or encrypts data. The attackers then extort the business. Here are a few real-life scenarios where businesses were caught without dedicated protection. Accidental deletion. You must recover a sensitive email thread that your CFO accidentally deleted last year or face regulatory fines. Those emails are lost forever because the deletion exceeds native recycling bin limits. Ransomware attack. You experience a sophisticated ransomware attack that rapidly encrypts all of your data. Your data is unusable because all redundant copies were encrypted. Rapid restore. A critical SharePoint site containing essential files about an upcoming acquisition is corrupted. It can take multiple days or weeks to restore all data and the site structures using a native tool. You can rapidly restore the SharePoint files or the entire site to a pre-corrupted state. Legal hold. For legal hold purposes, you must recover a critical user's account. Commvault gives you automated protection for all users, as well as the ability to restore files and preserve the entire site structure. While cloud service providers offer some native controls for temporary data replication, they may not be sufficient for long-term retention and resiliency. Data experts emphasize the need for a proactive data security strategy, and cloud service providers recommend implementing third-party backup solutions. Commvault fills this gap by providing extended retention of active and deleted data, adhering to pre-established SLAs, contracts, and applicable legislation. You'll also need the right cyber resilience plan and unified management. Let's take a closer look at each. First, consider air-gap ransomware protection, which safeguards your company's data across multiple clouds. SaaS-delivered protection can create secondary data copies in resilient, immutable, and isolated cloud storage. This approach ensures that data remains unchangeable, isolated, and swiftly retrievable in the unfortunate event of a ransomware attack. Some additional tips for implementing air-gap ransomware protection are: store your data in a geographically separate location from your production data, encrypt your backup data both at rest and in transit, regularly test your solution, as many fail to do, and never stop educating your employees about ransomware. The bottom line is that these can all help safeguard your company's data from ransomware attacks and ensure that you have a clean copy of data available for recovery in the event of a disaster. Many customers need to be more aware that cloud service providers are responsible for administering their tools and protecting the data created and stored within them. Put plainly, they're not. Universally, the top cloud service providers such as Microsoft, AWS, Google, and Salesforce follow a shared responsibility model. The cloud service provider's role: responsible for their SaaS services infrastructure, availability, and performance. The customer's role: responsible for their data entering, living in, and leaving the SaaS service. The pain points without dedicated backup include: backup data is saved for only 7 days for sandbox to 28 days for production environments. There is no long-term retention. No data separation from source data. How do you recover from attack or deletion if there is no secondary backup? No granular restore capabilities. Think no direct-to-production restores, no export, no item-level recovery options, no point-in-time recovery. And finally, no contractual obligation to meet recovery SLAs. How do you rapidly recover from attack? Next, making data protection decisions with the broader business ensures a holistic and practical approach to safeguarding your company's data across multiple clouds. First, confirming that the business understands the risks and costs associated with data loss is crucial. Secondly, backup parameters should be selected per compliance regulations and internal practices. Involving the business and decision-making processes around cyber resilience and data protection guarantees alignment with organizational policies and legal requirements. And lastly, aligning the cyber resilience and data protection solution with the business's overall goals and objectives ensures these efforts directly contribute to the company's success. Prioritizing cyber resilience initiatives that support strategic objectives, such as improving customer experience or expanding into new markets, demonstrates the value of data as a strategic asset. By working with the broader business, you can ensure that your data protection strategy is effective and meets the organization's needs. Now we come to number 4. A comprehensive cyber resilience plan is essential for safeguarding your company's data across multiple clouds. An effective plan ensures that your data is protected against various risks, including hardware failure, software corruption, human error, and ransomware attacks. Here are some key considerations when developing a robust cyber resilience plan. Define clear recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives. Choose the proper backup storage for your workload. Implement appropriate retention policies. Remember, these will differ based on your protection choices. Regularly test your plan. Many fail to do so due to time constraints. Make it a part of your policies. Use a smart configuration wizard, and of course, store backup data off-site. You can help safeguard your company's data across multiple clouds and ensure that you can quickly and easily recover your data in the event of a disaster. Our last best practice is unified management. You'll also want to avoid using many tools and platforms that create overly complex cyber resilience interfaces. A solution that operates through a single pane of glass dashboard protects all your workloads while your data security remains as efficient and as comprehensive as possible. A unified solution provides critical visibility with the ability to manage any data anywhere from one console. You can select SaaS and self-managed solutions for if your strategy requires and still enjoy industry-leading technology. You can get everything you need to modernize your cloud journey from a single vendor like Commvault. You can eliminate time-consuming manual processes and multiple dashboard reviews with complete visibility across all your environments. Today, the Commvault Cloud portfolio is more comprehensive than ever. We offer cloud-to-cloud protection of critical SaaS applications like Office 365, Dynamics 365, and Salesforce. We protect a wide range of hybrid cloud environments, including VMs, containers, and structured and unstructured data, and offer Commvault Cloud Storage as a secondary target for these environments. Our endpoint protection secures laptops and desktops, which is more important than ever in today's remote work landscape. Free Azure Active Directory and Microsoft Active Directory backup are also included in every purchase. Commvault Cloud unifies data protection and management for all these workloads in one single solution, so today's businesses can break down silos, manage risk, and safeguard data wherever it lives. It's all built on Commvault technologies with the power of Microsoft Azure, offering a hardened and sophisticated multi-layered security in the cloud. As a cloud-native SaaS solution built to leverage the best Azure PaaS and native services, the Commvault Cloud Control Plane is in the cloud. Companies log in through the hub to access their backup solution, and we take care of the backup infrastructure, updates, management, and support for reduced management overhead. Commvault Cloud delivers a breadth of coverage with offerings to protect endpoints and Office 365 data, plus the hybrid cloud workloads protected by this newly expanded portfolio. And as you can see here, customers can purchase Commvault Cloud Storage as a backup target for our hybrid cloud offerings or leverage their storage on premises or in the cloud. Here's a quick summary of what we've talked about today. SaaS apps are the new norm. They're here to stay. It's your data, but it's also your responsibility to back it up. You should implement air-gap ransomware protection and use dedicated backup and recovery. And again, make decisions in concert with the business for better harmony. Have the right cyber resilience plan in place and aim for unified management so that you have a single source of truth for all your data protection needs. And that's our presentation for today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Michael, thank you so much for such a great presentation. Tons of good information and great takeaways for everyone out there in the audience. We have a lot of questions coming in, Michael, so we are going to take some time to dive in. Are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
Let's start with this one. I think this is a solid place to kind of jump in. We have an audience member wondering if you could just dig in a little bit more and explain what is a Microsoft 365 backup.
Yeah, you may have heard about Microsoft 365 backup lately. This is anticipated this year. Microsoft 365 backup is a paid snapshot-based service that provides high-speed bulk backup and recovery for M365 environments. So those are your Exchange Online, OneDrive, and SharePoint Online. It saves data in place using snapshots, as I said. It does enable bulk restores without throttling, and Microsoft is guaranteeing fast restore performance. They will make it available in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and through their ISV partners. And Commvault will integrate these new high velocity capabilities into Commvault Cloud this year as one of Microsoft's preferred launch partners.
Ooh, that's an exciting upcoming opportunity there.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's you heard it here first, folks. I'm sure this wasn't the first time that was said, but that's always exciting. You know, there's all kinds of new innovations and launches coming all the time, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of them. So if you hadn't heard that, there's your fun fact of the day. And if you had, good to know that that's going to work well with Commvault. Okay, Michael, I have to go with this next one because we haven't had a conversation these days if we haven't at some point talked about AI. So get ready because I'm going to ask you about AI. We have a question here wondering how Commvault and AI can help with managing their environment. I'm wondering if you can kind of get into the hot button issue for everyone these days, right?
Yeah, that's a great one, and it is everywhere. You can't look anywhere without seeing those two letters.
You got it.
It's absolutely something that should be a part of your data protection planning. And today, you really should require that you have an AI-enabled cyber resilience platform that helps you across three key areas, and those are risk, readiness, and recovery. If you can get that and you can dig into a platform like that, such as Commvault's, you can do things like very quickly gather forensics, right? You can do this with plain English language by asking, in our case, our AI assistant. You can run your practice playbook. You can create a safe, secure, and scalable clean room with the required infrastructure to recover your applications and data. You can also do things like figure out a clean and safe recovery point where you're confident that your data is free of ransomware. You can convert your source data to match your clean room infrastructure. And then you can scan recovered data to ensure that it's malware, IOA, and IOC free. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with AI, and it's absolutely something that you should look for in your data protection platform.
Yeah, and I think it is that sort of superpower, right? It's taking something that you're already putting a lot of time and energy into, and looking at the ways that you can smooth, that you can simplify, that you can scale, that you can, that automation can enable all of those things that you're doing and make them just that little extra bit better and faster or bigger or whatever it is that you're looking for. And that's pretty exciting. Maybe this will feed in a little bit because we have a question that might be a good place to kind of wrap us up. And I wish we could keep going with this, Michael, because there's a lot of info clearly that we need to dig into. But how does Commvault manage security?
Yeah, that's another good one. And like AI, it's about working smarter, not harder, right? So
Yep.
Commvault Cloud, we maintain a global multi-layered approach to security. We start with Microsoft Azure to build a pretty robust, very secure, and performant platform with, as I said, a broad global presence. It's Azure that provides hardened, redundant data centers with state-of-the-art physical and digital controls, and they maintain dozens of certifications, including FedRAMP High, and that's across all Azure regions in the US. So I think it's important to point out that Commvault Cloud is built on Commvault technology, proven highly secure in enterprise and government environments. And we've been doing this now with Microsoft as our partner for over 25 years. So yeah, great question.
Well, great question. Great answer, Michael. And like I said, I wish we had a little bit more time, but we're just running pretty short. These times together go by so fast. Before I let you go, though, I think for anyone out there that is, their ears have been perked, their brain has been tickled, and they're ready to learn a little bit more, what would you recommend as the best way to start their conversation with Commvault?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just to head over to the website, commvault.com. And you can take a 30-day free trial of Commvault Cloud. It's fully featured. It's a full month trial where you can really dig in and explore the data protection capabilities and the differences that we offer. And yeah, that would be my recommendation. So just head over. Just takes a couple clicks to sign up, and you'll be on your way backing up data in no time.
Well, that is a great way to start, and I love that. Get started and backing up in no time. That's the way to go. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being here with us today. It has been a ton of fun talking to you, and I hope we get to talk to you again soon.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that attended.
All right, let's get that poll question up here.
All right, I have the poll up for you, Jess. And so all of you out there in the audience know this is kind of your wish list, your easy button. I want to remind you, this is the final poll of the day, so don't sleep on this one. Again, thank you both to Michael and Jess for this awesome presentation and Q&A. If you do want to learn more right away, go to that handout tab and click the link for the Commvault Solution Brief, Enterprise Proven Protection for your SaaS application data. That will be a perfect way to follow up on the convo we just had with Michael, and definitely worth a read. So go check that out. Right now, I also have a couple more prizes to give away to round out this amazing MegaCast. I've got the 6th and final $300 Amazon gift card, as well as one more Kindle Scribe. A reminder that you do have to be present to win, so let's hope our final winners are indeed still here. Drum roll, please. I have for the $300 Amazon gift card. Oh, sorry, everybody. I've got Jeremiah Herr from Iowa, and I've got the Kindle Scribe going to Rashmi Naikar from Ohio. Huge congratulations to all of our winners on the MegaCast. Just to recap, I've got our first gift card going to Tom Cross from Oklahoma, second to Jason Slusher from Texas, third to Dennis Hayes from Arkansas, fourth from Shuo Zhao from Massachusetts, fifth to Fernando Noriega from California, sixth to Jeremiah Herr from Iowa, and the 3 Kindle Scribes are off to Paul Martell from Texas, Brandon Walters from Illinois, and the last one, Rashmi Naikar from Ohio. As always, we will be in touch after the MegaCast about claiming your prize. Plus, don't forget, we have those best question gift cards going out, $50 for each session. So we will be rounding up all those questions and sending out those gifts. Thank you. Again, congrats to your lucky winners. And if you have been on the EcoCast today and you do want to sponsor, the MegaCast today, and you do want to sponsor an upcoming MegaCast, EcoCast, or one of our summits, we would love to hear from you. Reach out via email to connect@actualtechmedia.com. And with that, on behalf of our speakers today, I want to thank Rubrik, Haiku, Zerto, HPE, Veeam, and Commvault for making this MegaCast possible. Thank you from all of us here on the Actual Tech Media team. And again, a big thank you for being here in attendance and asking some great questions. I had so much fun with you talking about protecting SaaS applications. I hope you've all gotten, some interesting tips and ideas. You feel lit up, and maybe you're leaving today feeling excited and ready to make some next steps in your organization. If you did indeed enjoy today's MegaCast and you want to join us for another upcoming session, we have an EcoCast on April 10th, which is about a week from today, Wednesday, April 10th. That kicks off at 12 p.m. Eastern or 9 a.m. Pacific. That is the Discovery Day, Endpoint Management and Protection Tools. And with that, I'm going to let you all go. Thank you again for being here, and have an absolutely magical day.